Everything you've been told about the origin of civilization is a calculated guess at best and a lie at worst. We are taught that we started as primitive hunters, but the deeper we dig, the more the timeline collapses. We find maps of Antarctica from before it was covered in ice. We find ancient batteries and complex mechanical computers in shipwrecks thousands of years old. The narrative is broken. We aren't the first advanced society to inhabit this planet, we are just the latest. There is a global pattern of knowledge that was suppressed, lost, or intentionally erased from our memory. We aren't discovering history, we are recovering it. It's time to stop ignoring the anomalies that don't fit the official story. The past isn't what they say it is. It's much more dangerous. Hidden deep within the blazing Turpan Depression, where the heat of the Gobi Desert seems to bend both the land and the very flow of history, lies one of Asia's greatest yet most enigmatic ruins, the ancient city of Jiaohe. For more than 2 millennia, this city stood as an oasis of life, culture, commerce, and faith along the legendary Silk Road. The ruins of Jiaohe, strangely well preserved thanks to the arid climate, now stretch across a natural earthen island, lying between 2 dried riverbeds, a location that is both strategic and symbolic. Yet beneath the sun-drenched silent streets of abandoned Jiaohe, one persistent question has haunted archaeologists and storytellers for centuries. Why did Jiaohe disappear? Let's explore the mysteries, the splendor, and above all the unanswered questions surrounding Jiaohe's sudden collapse. What do you think truly caused the mysterious abandonment of Jiaohe? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Unlike most other ancient cities in the world, Jiaohe was not built up, but rather carved directly into the earth. People of the past dug houses, assembly halls, monasteries, and even palaces right into the hard clay, creating an underground city more than 1,650 meters long and up to 300 meters wide. The walls, roofs, and rooms were all sculpted from sun-baked earth itself. No other city in China, or perhaps the world, shares this distinctive dugout architectural style like Jiaohe. Jiaohe itself was a fortress perched atop a natural plateau formed by the convergence of 2 rivers. These rivers acted as natural moats, leaving only a narrow path that was easy to defend. Unlike other fortresses, Jiaohe did not need city walls. The sheer cliffs surrounding the city, sometimes more than 30 meters high, served as natural fortifications just as formidable as any man-made structure. For much of its history, Jiaohe thrived as the center of the ancient Cheshi kingdom, later becoming the regional capital under the Tang dynasty. Its location at the intersection of Chinese, Central Asian, and Indo-European cultures made Jiaohe a bustling trading hub, where merchants, monks, and travelers from far and wide gathered. Within the city, archaeologists have discovered remnants of Buddhist temples, Zoroastrian shrines, and even Nestorian Christian artifacts, showing a remarkable level of religious diversity for its time. Frescoes, steles, and architectural details reveal a multicultural society where beliefs and ideas intermingled freely, just like goods and people in the market. Jiaohe was not just a city, it was a living archive of pluralism along the Silk Road. The Turpan Depression is one of the lowest, driest, and hottest places on Earth. Yet thanks to ingenious irrigation and the presence of 2 rivers, the people of Jiaohe cultivated fields, orchards, and vineyards that sustained a bustling city for over 2,000 years. Archaeological artifacts, grains, tools, even ancient seeds stand as proof of the resilience and ingenuity of its inhabitants. Ironically, it is this harsh climate that has preserved Jiaohe so well. The lack of rain, low humidity, and sparse modern population have kept the streets, temples, and homes of this ancient city almost intact. Despite its strategic location, prosperity, and cultural wealth, Jiaohe was abandoned in the 14th century, left to the mercy of time and desert sands. And it is here that the real mystery begins, a puzzle that has sparked countless theories, legends, and debates. The Mongol invasions under Genghis Khan and his successors swept through Central Asia in the 13th century, devastating many civilizations, and historical records show that Jiaohe suffered a catastrophic blow from the Mongol armies around 1275. Archaeological excavations have revealed clear signs of fire, charred beams, collapsed structures, and precious belongings suddenly abandoned. For centuries, this has been considered the leading cause of Jiaohe's downfall, but was the Mongol invasion alone enough to erase such a famous city? Another theory highlights the role of climate and environment. Even Jiaohe's ingenious irrigation system could not withstand years of severe drought, shifting river courses or water sources depleted by overuse and upstream activity. The Turpan Basin is notorious for its unpredictable rivers. A single change in the river's course could turn a lush city into desert wasteland within just a few years. Was it perhaps the perfect storm? The combined devastation of Mongol attacks and environmental disaster that brought about the city's end. The 14th century was also a time of widespread epidemic across Eurasia, and some believe that Jiaohe fell victim to waves of disease that decimated its population. Mass graves hastily dug and the absence of any systematic rebuilding further support this hypothesis. Economic decline and political turmoil may also have played a part, as the importance of the Silk Road shifted and new trade routes bypassed. Turpan Jiaohe's economic lifeline may have dried up. At the same time, the region endured severe political instability, with short-lived dynasties, rising and falling alliances constantly changing, and the Yuan-Mongol dynasty gradually dissolving, all contributing to a pervasive sense of insecurity. Did the inhabitants quietly leave when the city was no longer safe or worth living in? Finally, some legends even claim that Jiaohe was abandoned by the gods, or that a curse descended upon the land after centuries of turmoil. There are also stories of sacred treasures and holy scriptures being secretly spirited out of the city under cover of darkness, never to be seen again. Despite more than a century of archaeological research, the full story of Jiaohe's disappearance remains unsolved. Unlike many cities that decline slowly over time, Jiaohe's abandonment happened with alarming suddenness. Many families left their belongings behind. Temples were abandoned mid-ceremony. There are no clear records to explain whether it was a single catastrophe or a gradual unraveling. Excavations have uncovered secret tunnels, collapsed underground chambers, and puzzling deep pits. Some areas seem to have been deliberately filled in or sealed off, as if to hide or protect something precious. Could ritual treasures, lost archives, or clues to a deep tragedy so profound the survivors chose to bury it forever still lie beneath Jiaohe's dust? To this day, locals warn against lingering too long among the ruins at night. Tales of ghosts, hidden treasure, and vanished monks cling to the site. It seems Jiaohe is not yet done releasing its secrets. Today, the ancient city of Jiaohe is one of the best preserved ghost cities of the ancient world. Its sunken streets, collapsed buildings, and weathered temples still attract historians, tourists, and adventurers. Walking through the ruins, one cannot help but feel the weight of unanswered questions, the sense that somewhere in this silent earth still lies a truth the desert has yet to reveal. Many hope that new technology, remote sensing, ground-penetrating radar molecular archaeology will one day uncover what really happened in those final days. But perhaps like all truly great mysteries, it is the enigma of Jiaohe itself that gives it eternal power. The ancient city of Jiaohe is a symbol of adaptability, creativity, and ultimately the fragility of civilization. Its dramatic downfall is not only a riddle for historians, but also a mirror for the modern world, a warning about the intertwined dangers of war, climate disease, and the relentless wheel of fate. Why did Jiaohe fall? Perhaps the real answer is not a single event, but a web of disasters, both natural and human-made, written into the bones of the earth, and maybe still hidden somewhere in the shadows of legend. Jiaohe endures as it has for centuries, both as a splendid monument to the past and as a mystery that will forever haunt the ruins of lost cities. When speaking of the magnificent works of ancient Rome, people usually think of the Colosseum, the Pantheon, or the massive temples of Rome. But there is a complex that surpasses them all in both scale and mystery. Villa Adriana, Hadrian's villa in Tivoli, about 30 kilometers from Rome. More than just a lavish retreat for Emperor Hadrian, 117 to 138 AD, Villa Adriana is living proof of construction secrets far ahead of its time, many of which continue to puzzle modern engineers and archaeologists. What do you think is the greatest technological mystery hidden in Villa Adriana? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Villa Adriana covers more than 120 hectares, larger than any other royal villa of its time. The entire estate contains hundreds of buildings, palaces, hot and cold, baths, thermae libraries, theaters, temples, swimming pools, gardens, canals, and secret underground passageways. Each zone is linked by a system of tunnels, private walkways, and aqueducts. This scale required planning, construction, irrigation, and organizational techniques on par with any ancient city, if not even more complex. Among the outstanding buildings are Canopus, an artificial elongated lake, the Maritime Theatre, an island theatre within a circular pool, Piazza d'Oro, the Heliocaminus bath, the Hospitalia guest lodgings, and many other villas, each serving different functions. Hadrian was an emperor famous for his love of art and architectural collecting. Villa Adriana was not just a villa. It was a space where Hadrian recreated all the places he loved most from the ancient world. You can find echoes of Egypt, Canopus, Greece, Greek-style temples, the East, and of course, pure Roman architecture with domes, columns, and massive stone walls. Every structure was a creative problem solved by integrating construction solutions, ornamentation, and optimal functionality. Perhaps never before had a villa been so personalized and optimized for the owner's lifestyle, down to every small corner. One of the most remarkable technical achievements of Villa Adriana is its underfloor heating system, Hypocaust, which was installed throughout the baths and many of the villa's important residential areas. Thanks to hollow spaces built beneath the floors, directly connected to external furnaces, heat from the fires would be channeled through brick pipes, spreading evenly across the floors and even into the walls. This allowed both hot and cold baths to maintain a stable temperature year-round, regardless of weather changes. What puzzles modern researchers is how ancient Roman engineers could accurately calculate the flow of hot air, regulate the temperature, and select materials durable enough for the system to function reliably over centuries. To this day, many sections of the Hypocaust remain intact, demonstrating astonishing durability and a well-reasoned design, especially the heat resistance of the chosen construction materials. Moreover, Villa Adriana possessed an exceptionally sophisticated irrigation and water management system. The complex contained dozens of large and small pools, artificial streams, fountains, and canals. All were interconnected by a network of pipes made from ceramic lead and stone, ensuring a constant supply of clean water for daily life, cooling, irrigating the gardens, and replenishing the pools throughout the estate. Notably, the underground channels were designed to prevent overflow and sediment buildup, incorporating simple but effective filtration systems to keep the water perpetually clean. Even the water levels in each area were carefully regulated to create stunning landscape effects like at Canopus, where the still water reflects the sky, and statues creating a magical mirage effect. Additionally, the domed architecture of Villa Adriana is another astonishing highlight. Many structures, such as the Piazza d'Oro, the Helio-Caminus Bath, and the Maritime Theatre, featured large domes that exceeded typical Roman standards, creating open, airy spaces while allowing natural light to pour in through skylights, imparting a sense of luxury and connection to nature. The Maritime Theatre, in particular, is a theatre island in circular form, surrounded by a moat and connected to the mainland by a movable bridge. The interior space was specially designed for the emperor's work and relaxation. The dome here provided insulation in summer, warmth in winter, and superb soundproofing, ideal for private meetings or artistic creation. Beneath Villa Adriana lies an intricate network of secret tunnels and underground passageways connecting nearly all major zones of the complex. Thanks to this, the emperor and his entourage could move discreetly between buildings without fear of being watched, and could conduct ceremonies or private activities entirely separated from guests and visitors. These tunnels are typically wide and well ventilated, equipped with independent drainage systems, and lit in the Roman style. Even today, many portions of the tunnels remain unexcavated, giving rise to numerous theories about the possible concealment of treasures, secret documents, or hidden chambers still yet to be discovered. The success of Villa Adriana also stemmed from the selection of special construction materials and exquisite decorative techniques. Massive stone blocks, fired bricks, and Roman concrete were expertly combined with a proprietary opus cementitium binder, enabling the structures to bear heavy loads, resist cracking, and remain durable for millennia. Some modern studies have found that Roman engineers mixed volcanic ash pozzolana into the cement to create a nearly indestructible binder resistant even to damp environments. The interiors were lavishly decorated with tens of thousands of colorful mosaic tiles, marble, imported from far and wide, bronze and stone statues, and even gold leaf applied to important details. The level of craftsmanship and mosaic work at Villa Adriana is regarded as the standard for European interior decoration for centuries that followed. Finally, the design for light regulation and the organization of living spaces at Villa Adriana reveal a vision far ahead of its time. The entire villa was designed to maximize natural light through systems of windows, skylights, spiral staircases, breezeways, and atriums. Each room could be flexibly opened or closed to adjust light airflow or heat depending on the season. Many rooms were oriented south or southwest to capture sunlight during winter, while avoiding heat in the summer. The living spaces themselves were clearly programmed for specific functions: living rooms, bedrooms, banquet halls, libraries, reading rooms, and baths, all with distinct locations and designs reflecting a high degree of personalization for the owner and honored guests. Although scientists and archaeologists have studied Villa Adriana for more than 3 centuries, it remains a treasure trove of mysteries, with many major questions about technology and construction techniques left unsolved. People can't help but wonder how ancient Roman engineers could accurately calculate the strength load-bearing capacity and organize the construction of such massive domed structures using only manual methods without the help of modern machinery. The technologies for water management, waterproofing, and material maintenance are also big mysteries, because while most buildings from the same era have decayed or vanished, Villa Adriana has stood firm over time. Many believe that beneath the villa's grounds, there are still undiscovered tunnels and secret chambers, possibly even treasure vaults, libraries, or entire structures that history has never recorded. Furthermore, the presence of many strange symbols and mosaic patterns uncommon in Roman art, found throughout various corners of Villa Adriana, has sparked theories that these may not be mere decoration, but might conceal codes, religious messages, or special meanings that Emperor Hadrian intended to leave for posterity. All these mysteries are still waiting to be explored by future generations. Villa Adriana has been a real school for generations of European engineers, architects, and artists. Renaissance designers like Palladio and Michelangelo learned from and copied many design ideas here. Even modern European mansions and castles echo the influence of Villa Adriana, from spatial organization, landscape, handling water systems, to mosaic art and sculpture. Most notably, UNESCO recognized Villa Adriana as a World Heritage Site in 1999, affirming its value in technology, art, and the many mysteries this villa left behind for posterity. Villa Adriana is not just the opulent resting place of an emperor, but a high-tech laboratory, the place where all the construction, irrigation, decorative, and spatial organization achievements of the Roman Empire converged. Even today, with every excavation, restoration, or renewed study, scientists remain amazed at the sophistication, resilience, and unfathomable mysteries the ancients accomplished. The questions surrounding Villa Adriana's engineering and technology are still major challenges, awakening the curiosity of anyone passionate about archaeology, architecture, and the still unsolved mysteries of the ancient world. Some ancient mysteries aren't found in texts, nor are they mentioned on cuneiform tablets, yet they endure for thousands of years, challenging both modern knowledge and even the boldest imagination. The Hattusa greenstone is one such enigma. Amidst the vast ruins of Hattusa, the former capital of the Hittites on the Anatolian plateau, where the winds have long since buried all traces of power and glory, a strange green stone stands out. Unlike any other stones around it, this block bears no carvings, no ritual markings, yet it was placed right at the heart of the great temple, the most sacred place in this vanished empire. Its presence makes even the most experienced archaeologists, as well as modern visitors, stop and wonder, why does such a unique stone have no explanation? Who brought it here and set it in this place of honor? And what was its true purpose? It's precisely these unanswered questions that have made the Hattusa greenstone one of the most fascinating mysteries of the ancient world. What do you think the true purpose of the Hattusa greenstone was? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Unlike the thousands of limestone, sandstone, or basalt blocks that make up most of Hattusa, the greenstone wears a vivid shade of green, glowing under the afternoon sun, like a hidden treasure. This object is large, nearly rectangular, and polished to perfection. It sits silently, no inscriptions, no carvings, no clues to its purpose. Its difference has puzzled generations of Hittites, Romans, Byzantines, Ottomans, and even modern archaeologists. Geologists have identified it as diopside stone, a type of pyroxene mineral extremely rare in this region. The Hittites must have transported it from some far-off place to the city's center. That feat alone demonstrates the special significance that this ancient civilization assigned to the stone. Even more special, its placement is right in the middle of the great temple's courtyard, a spot reserved for the most sacred rituals. While countless other pillars and statues were destroyed, looted, or lost over thousands of years, the Hattusa greenstone remains untouched, as if it were the immortal soul of Hattusa itself. What puzzles scientists and archaeology enthusiasts most, and is also the greatest fascination of the Hattusa greenstone, is the mystery of its true purpose. There are no records from the Hittites, nor are there any symbols, drawings, or descriptions on surrounding stones or walls that mention its name, function, or meaning. This complete blank in the historical record has given free rein to imagination, academic theories, and even mystical speculation. Some archaeologists argue that the greenstone's central location and unique material suggest it may have served as the principal ritual altar of the Great Temple. The Hittites were famous for their complex religious ceremonies, especially those devoted to the storm god and sun god rites performed to ensure rain, bountiful harvests, and protection for the kingdom. However, others point out that there are no traces of blood ash charcoal or ritual tools around the stone elements typically found near ancient altars. Furthermore, the surface of the stone is completely smooth, unadorned with carvings, which is unlike the decorated altars of tradition, casting doubt on this theory. Another hypothesis suggests the Hattusa greenstone was once the pedestal for a long-lost divine statue, perhaps of gold, bronze, or rare wood, originally placed upon it with honor, but removed or destroyed by historical upheavals. This matches practices in many other ancient civilizations, where special stone bases were used to elevate and venerate deities. Yet archaeologists have found no evidence of a statue ever being affixed here. There are no post-hole sockets or characteristic abrasion marks, making this use all the more difficult to confirm. For believers in mysticism and spirituality, the distinctive green color of diopside brings to mind skystone, a symbol of immortality and a bridge between gods and humans. Even today, many visitors and devotees travel to Hattusa, touching the stone in hopes of receiving cosmic energy, good fortune, or healing. Some people have even reported feeling warmth or a shiver when standing next to the stone. However, modern scientific testing has proven that the Hattusa greenstone emits no magnetic fields, radiation, or any unusual forms of energy. Others see the greenstone as a symbol of supreme power, reserved for the Hittite royalty or priesthood. Perhaps during coronation or other major ceremonies, only the highest-ranking individuals were allowed to approach or stand on the stone, asserting their position with the blessing of the gods. Yet once again, there is no archaeological evidence, such as carvings, depictions, or traces indicating such special rituals ever took place here. Beyond the traditional theories, the Hattusa greenstone has attracted many fringe rumors. Some believe it is the gateway to an underground treasure chamber or a power station left behind by extraterrestrials in prehistoric times. A few speculative documentaries even place the Hattusa greenstone alongside other enigmatic monoliths like Stonehenge and Baalbek, suggesting they are evidence of interaction between ancient humans and advanced civilizations. However, all geological surveys have confirmed there are no tunnels, treasure vaults, or chambers beneath the stone. These tales are little more than folklore, sparking curiosity rather than offering real scientific value. Even though its real purpose is beyond the reach of science, the Hattusa greenstone has become a living symbol of the unsolved mysteries of human history. Its allure comes not only from its rarity, but also from its ability to challenge every effort to explain it, a timeless object amid the destruction and change wrought by centuries. Today, visitors from around the world flock to Hattusa, not just to see the Hittite legacy, but to experience firsthand what it's like to stand before a true mystery. Some gently lay their hands on the stone, eyes closed in prayer, connecting to a distant past. Others simply sit in silence, reflecting on the thousands of years that have passed under its shadow. Archaeologists, meanwhile, continue studying samples' mineral content and geological traces, but must admit, there is no certainty about the role of the Hattusa greenstone, except that it is an eternal mystery. When we look back at humanity's long history, there's no shortage of mysteries, from the Moai of Easter Island and Stonehenge in England to the lost temples of South America. But the Hattusa greenstone remains unique, at once familiar and alien, tangible and mystical. Perhaps the mystery itself was its true purpose. Maybe the Hittites meant to leave behind an unsolvable riddle, so that every era could ask its own questions, imagine its own answers, and keep searching for truth. Amidst the desolate sands of Nazca, where the sun scorches all traces and the wind sweeps away layers of time, a cluster of immense earthen mounds suddenly rises, standing silent, like sentinels guarding the past. Cahuachi, not a city, not a fortress, but the sacred heart of a vanished civilization. This was once alive with the footsteps of thousands of devotees, once the epicenter of mysterious rituals and the longing to commune with supernatural forces. Over a millennium later, among shattered ruins and cracked adobe, the greatest question still echoes: what caused a symbol of power and faith like Cahuachi to be so suddenly abandoned, to sink into oblivion in the endless desert? What do you think really caused Cahuachi to be so mysteriously abandoned? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If the Egyptian pyramids are evidence of the power and authority of pharaohs, then Cahuachi is where the spirituality and faith of the Nazca transcend all limits. This center covers more than 24 square kilometers with nearly 40 massive adobe mounds, some rising more than 20 meters, forming a labyrinthine ceremonial complex in the heart of the desert. What's special is that Cahuachi was not an ordinary city. There are no traces of residential houses, no grand royal tombs like in Egypt, and certainly no evidence of regular urban life. Instead, this was a sacred gathering place. Nazca people from everywhere would come here on great occasions, bringing offerings, garments, livestock, and a fierce faith in the supernatural power of this land. The mounds of Cahuachi are not simply piles of dirt stacked high. Each mound was intricately designed, divided into many terraces, underground chambers, secret passages, and adobe walls. Some have the shape of stepped pyramids, with thick plaster and solid foundations reflecting the architectural skills and the mystical beliefs of the Nazca. The terraces connect the earth with the sky, the ordinary people with the gods. Archaeologists have discovered multiple ritual levels, altars, and discrete entrances reserved only for the priestly class. Especially notable are artifacts such as surreal patterned ceramics, mummified human heads, and exquisitely woven textiles, all serving mysterious rituals that we have yet to fully decipher today. It is impossible to mention Cahuachi without mentioning the world-famous Nazca lines, hundreds of gigantic geoglyphs in the shapes of animals, people, plants, and endlessly running lines in the desert. Remarkably, many of these lines converge on or point toward Cahuachi. Many theories suggest Cahuachi was an altar of heaven and earth, where rituals associated with the creation and preservation of these gigantic drawings took place as a message to the gods above or as part of an ancient astronomical calendar used to predict seasons and cosmic phenomena. From around the 1st to the 4th century, AD Cahuachi flourished, becoming the gathering place for thousands of Nazca people at every festival. The large adobe mounds were continuously expanded. Rituals, both grand and small, took place without end, and countless precious items such as woven textiles, ceramics, mummified human heads, or sacrificial animals were constantly brought in, helping to create an enormous trove of artifacts that stand as proof of the prosperity and authority of this ceremonial center. However, around the 5th century, Cahuachi was suddenly abandoned without any prior warning. There were no signs of war, no indication of natural disaster, no remains of fire or looting, and no skeletons suggesting violent conflict. Instead, the major structures were carefully buried. Ritual chambers were filled with clay stairways, and main entrances were sealed as if the Nazca themselves had deliberately closed Cahuachi with a special and mysterious ritual. Various hypotheses about the cause of Cahuachi's collapse have been put forward by scholars, but to this day, there is still no definitive answer. It may have been due to climate change or environmental catastrophe, as the Nazca River, the only source of life in the desert, changed its flow unpredictably, causing water shortages and making the already fragile ecosystem even more depleted. Extreme El Niño events could also have brought devastating floods or droughts. Some theories suggest mysterious epidemics might have broken out. Although there is no clear evidence of a widespread outbreak, a few artifacts do show signs of bone injuries and strange diseases in some of the human remains found. Social crises or power struggles cannot be ruled out either, since in Nazca society, priests and leaders held extremely important roles. If faith in the priesthood faltered, especially when rituals no longer worked in the face of disasters or drought, the collapse of spiritual belief would also mean the abandonment of the sacred site. Furthermore, the Nazca may have changed their religious beliefs, turning to new gods, practicing new rituals, or merging into a more dominant culture, such as the Wari, causing Cahuachi to lose its central role. Particularly the evidence of structures being systematically sealed and buried, along with a large number of ritual objects interred, has sparked the theory that the Nazca intentionally held a sealing ceremony, a special spiritual rite to end Cahuachi's function, a kind of gate between earth and sky, understood only by the elite. Unlike ancient cities erased by war or disaster, Cahuachi seems to have willingly withdrawn from history, leaving behind structures half buried, half exposed, with earthen mounds lying quietly in the desert like the ghosts of the past. The Nazca never returned to live there, and the rituals no longer continued. What was once the cultural and spiritual heart of Nazca has now become an empty black spot on the archaeological map, making every hypothesis about its collapse all the more chilling, mysterious, and haunting. At Cahuachi, researchers have found objects like no other mummified human heads, possibly as trophies or used in rain rituals, exquisitely woven textiles with abstract patterns, ceramics in the form of human animal faces, sacrificial animals, even fragments of young people's bones. There is evidence of grand-scale offerings to the gods, from blood and livestock to the community's most valuable possessions. Subterranean chambers and sealed rooms are still full of secrets yet to be excavated. Many areas remain inaccessible due to fragile ground layers or risk of damaging the relics. Some researchers believe that there may still be supreme secrets, such as ritual manuscripts, statues of deities, or gold and silver treasures still buried deep beneath centuries-old adobe. Today, Cahuachi is not just an archaeological site, but a symbol for an entire enigmatic civilization. The adobe bricks here have witnessed the rise and fall of a complex society where faith, ritual, and spiritual strength reached their zenith. And it is precisely the abandonment of Cahuachi, in a manner akin to a ritual closure of history, that gives this sacred site its haunting allure. Every scientist and archaeologist who sets foot here returns with more questions than answers. The collapse of Cahuachi is not only the end of a ceremonial center, but an unsolvable knot for all efforts to decode the mysteries of the Nazca civilization in particular and South America in general. Cahuachi Great Adobe Mounds is one of the most haunting sites in pre-Columbian history. Hidden in the desert, this was once the spiritual heart, only to be mysteriously closed by its very own creators. Beneath the cracked earth, beneath Peru's burning sun, lies a trove of relics, rituals, and unanswered questions about why Cahuachi truly disappeared from humanity's map. Was it an ancient curse, a mystical ceremony, or merely a mirror reflecting the fragility of all civilizations before the invisible power of time, nature, and the human heart? In the south of Nigeria, amidst dense forests and peaceful villages of the Igbo people, lies an archaeological mystery that continues to puzzle researchers worldwide: the ritual bronze treasures of Igbo-Ukwu. Discovered accidentally at the end of the 1930s by a farmer digging a well, these artifacts immediately challenged all conventional understanding of civilization, artistry, and technology in ancient Africa. Yet beyond their dazzling artistic value, these bronze objects pose an unanswered question. Who created them, by what technology, and why did metallurgy here reach such heights while the rest of the world was just taking its first tentative steps in advanced metal casting? What do you think is truly behind the mystery of Igbo-Ukwu's metallurgy and the origin of these ritual bronzes? Share your thoughts in the comments below. In 1938, in the village of Igbo-Ukwu in today's Anambra State, a farmer digging a well stumbled upon a bronze vessel and strange bead necklaces. At first, people assumed these were old decorations or charms. However, by the 1950s and 60s, when archaeologists like Thurston Shaw excavated the burial pit system, an astonishing truth emerged: hundreds of artifacts made of bronze, brass, lead, glass, and other precious materials appeared. 3 burial pits were identified: the owner's grave, possibly a king or powerful priest, a ritual pit, and a mysterious cache of items. All were packed with objects of artistic, religious, and political value that far surpassed any contemporary culture in sub-Saharan Africa. Igbo-Ukwu is renowned for its ritual bronze artifacts, vessels, plates, cups, animal figurines, masks, bracelets, necklaces, and beads. The decorative motifs are extremely complex: spirals, mesh work, raised dots, representations of plants, native animals, and the cosmological symbols distinctive to Africa. These artifacts hold profound ritual meanings, used in ceremonies to worship deities, crown leaders, or bury elite individuals. Notably, many objects were buried with important persons, reflecting beliefs about the afterlife and eternal power. At the heart of every scholarly debate about Igbo-Ukwu lies the question: how could a rural community in West Africa during the 9th to 10th centuries possess a level of metallurgy and bronze casting that surpassed any contemporary civilization on the entire continent? The lost wax casting technique was applied by the people of Igbo-Ukwu with a rare sophistication, allowing them to create vessels, figurines, and bead chains with holes just a few millimeters wide, intricate embossed patterns and forms that were never repeated. Even details such as tiny chain links, thin edges, or highly realistic depictions of animals were crafted with near-perfect precision. The brass and lead materials they used had a stable metallic composition and high purity, showing that these ancient artisans knew how to control temperature mix alloys intentionally and consistently replicate these techniques over many generations. This not only required chemical knowledge, but was also the result of long practical experience. Modern geochemical analyses show that the copper and tin used for these artifacts were not necessarily sourced locally, but there is also no evidence of large-scale trade with Egypt, North Africa, Arabia, or other famous metallurgical centers of the ancient world. Another major mystery is that at the Igbo-Ukwu site and its surroundings, archaeologists have found no trace of smelting furnaces, casting molds workshops, or even metallurgical waste or crafting tools. These sophisticated artifacts seem to have appeared from nowhere, leaving no trace of their production process. Especially after the 10th century, there are almost no sites in Igbo-Ukwu or the surrounding region that demonstrate similar metallurgical skill. This technology did not spread, nor did it continue to develop. It seems to have suddenly appeared and then vanished, leaving a great question for later generations. Many hypotheses have been proposed, but none are truly convincing. Some scholars believe that the Igbo-Ukwu people may have had indirect contact with major metallurgical civilizations through trade routes, but there is no physical evidence, writing or archaeological remains to confirm this. Others argue that this was the result of independent local ingenuity. But if so, why did such advanced metallurgical skills appear only at Igbo-Ukwu while surrounding communities, despite similar geographic and cultural conditions, show no trace of it? Some researchers even lean toward more mysterious theories. Perhaps these are the remnants of a highly unusual technology, forgotten or deliberately concealed for special reasons. Strangely, all the evidence suggests that the Igbo-Ukwu possessed a unique metallurgical technology neither dependent on nor imitative of any external culture. A mysterious oasis of technology deep within the forests of Africa. Before the discovery of Igbo-Ukwu, most international archaeologists believed that the sub-Saharan region only developed wood terracotta and rudimentary iron arts, with no advanced metallurgy. The Igbo-Ukwu treasure shattered this prejudice. Africa not only mastered metallurgy, but also possessed bronze casting skills equal to or even superior to many contemporary civilizations in Eurasia. Igbo-Ukwu art bears a distinct identity untouched by influences from Egypt, Rome, China, or India. Its motifs of native animals, cosmic symbols, spiral patterns, and flowering forms prove an independent local creativity. The fact that the artifacts were deliberately buried in 3 separate pits, arranged according to ritual and power hierarchy, has led many researchers to believe that Igbo-Ukwu was a major religious political center of its time. But the true purpose of these objects, used for coronation worship, burial, or as a reserve treasure for social upheaval, remains much debated. Although hundreds of artifacts from Igbo-Ukwu have been researched, analyzed, and described, the world has yet to find clear answers to some of the most fundamental questions. Who were the individuals who possessed and passed down these extraordinary metallurgical techniques? Where are the tools, molds, and furnaces that must have once existed, and why have they disappeared without a trace? By what methods were such minuscule and intricate details crafted using only the simple means available at the time? Why did this advanced technology not spread or evolve into a long-lasting tradition across the region? And was there perhaps a sudden event or some religious or political reason that led to the complete disappearance of this entire technological legacy? Igbo-Ukwu ritual bronzes, are not only masterpieces of art, but also classified dossiers of ancient African civilization, a challenging puzzle for the history of humankind. Each artifact is an undeciphered message, a testament to creative potential, and a longing to surpass the material and intellectual limits of the age. The more we explore, the more we realize Igbo-Ukwu remains a mystery, with no final answer, a true Atlantis of bronze art, where all present evidence has yet to reveal the full secrets buried for thousands of years beneath Africa's soil. There are mysteries that only grow deeper as time passes. Khami terraced ruins is not simply the remains of an ancient capital, it stands as a silent message carved into stone. Can modern humans truly decipher the secrets of the past? In the heart of Zimbabwe, these massive stone walls were built without mortar, without adhesives, each layer of granite stacked tightly and enduringly across the centuries. No blueprints have been found. No written records explain their creation. Only Khami's enduring presence remains challenging anyone who encounters it to ask what technologies, techniques, and secrets created this marvel and what has allowed it to survive until today. What do you think was the true secret behind Khami's construction? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Khami, located to the west of Bulawayo City in Zimbabwe, served as the capital of the Torwa Kingdom from the 15th to the 17th centuries. Recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site since 1986, Khami stands out, with its terraced stone platforms, walls stretching for hundreds of meters, intricate decorative motifs, waves, nets, fish bones, diamonds, and countless artifacts of iron, copper, gold, ceramics, and glass from distant civilizations, proving a golden era of wealth and global connection. But behind all that splendor, what truly makes Khami a living mystery is its timeless construction technology. Seen from above, Khami appears as a gigantic stone labyrinth, with gently curving walls, terraced steps, and stone-paved courtyards arranged in different levels, each layer reflecting a meaning of power, religion, and society. Unlike other ancient structures that often used mortar cement or binding agents, the entire complex of Khami was built entirely with dry stone techniques. Stones of various sizes were meticulously carved to fit together like perfect puzzle pieces. Even without any mortar or adhesives, these stone walls have stood firm for centuries without collapsing or shifting. Some walls rise as high as 7 meters, stretch more than 100 meters long, and are meters thick. The stones are arranged in staggered layers, creating a solid locking block structure that helps distribute force and withstand the tremors of earthquakes. That's why the big question that always haunts scientists is, how did the Torwa people achieve this? The mysteries surrounding Khami's construction techniques have long troubled modern scientists, giving rise to numerous theories that remain unanswered. Although the quarries around Khami are not too far away, the process of extracting massive granite blocks, cutting them into nearly perfect rectangular shapes, transporting them uphill, and stacking them with millimeter precision all demanded an extraordinary level of organization, technical skill, and manpower. Marks left on the stones suggest that ancient builders might have used metal tools such as iron or copper. But exactly how they achieved such flat cuts and eliminated every margin of error, especially with stones weighing several tons, remains a great enigma. Many theories propose that the Torwa people had their own secret craftsmanship, utilizing levers, pulleys, or perhaps even techniques that we still do not know of today. Moreover, modern researchers have discovered that the walls at Khami are often not built completely vertical, but have a slight curvature, which helps distribute forces when exposed to earthquakes or unstable ground pressure. Each stone is locked in place by being set diagonally and interwoven, so that during tremors, instead of falling outwards, the stones tighten themselves, creating a natural earthquake resistance. This technique is reminiscent of the stonework of the Inca in South America, even though the two civilizations had no direct contact, prompting many to wonder whether a kind of global engineering blueprint may once have existed and been lost. Additionally, the wave mesh and fishbone patterns that appear on the wall surfaces are not only spiritually significant or indicative of power, but many scientists believe they could also serve as markers for weak points, load-bearing areas, or even as a form of technical code guiding future generations in the repair of the walls. Some symbols might be considered dynamic maps, helping to quickly identify and address spots prone to subsidence or cracking due to storms or earthquakes. Beyond that, beneath the walls and courtyards of Khami, archaeologists have also discovered an extremely intelligent underground drainage system, ensuring that rainwater does not erode the stone foundations while still maintaining ideal moisture for the entire structure. Many ceramic pipes, deeply buried and connected to stone wells, both provided water for daily use and offered natural cooling for the largest chambers, a climate control principle not so different from what we use in modern times. To this day, very few ancient construction tools, such as hammers, chisels, or pulleys, have been found at Khami, prompting many to wonder, did the Torwa people use consumable technology and then gather up all the tools after finishing construction? Or did they have some special method of reuse? Some theories even suggest the use of resonant sound or other traditional secrets that have been completely lost to time, leaving their stone-laying techniques an unsolved mystery to this day. Even more astonishing is that more than 5 centuries after Khami was abandoned, most of its stone walls still stand firm, undeterred by the ravages of weather, earthquakes, or human activity. This proves that dry stone construction was not only resource-efficient and environmentally friendly, but also remarkably durable, a quality that not all modern buildings can achieve. However, after the Torwa kingdom fell, this mortarless stone-laying technique also seemed to disappear, as later structures in Africa typically used mortar cement or fired bricks instead. This raises the question, was this unique technique a family secret passed down only among royal lines, or did it vanish completely along with the mysterious collapse of an entire civilization? In addition to its construction mysteries, Khami was also a major center of culture and commerce where indigenous peoples had the opportunity to interact with traders from Arabia, Persia, India, and China, a fact evidenced by numerous artifacts such as ceramics, glass, and copper found at the site. The elevated platforms reserved for royalty and nobles, together with clearly tiered terraces and a strict system of stone gateways, contributed to a society that was highly organized and deeply stratified, reflecting both the cultural advancement and social complexity of Khami during its flourishing era. By the end of the 17th century, Khami was suddenly abandoned, without leaving any trace of war, major epidemic, or significant natural disaster, causing an entire, once glorious civilization to vanish in silence. This disappearance brought with it countless mysteries surrounding mortarless construction techniques, astronomical knowledge, geomancy, and even treasures that now exist only in the folklore of Zimbabwe. Today, no matter how far you travel, you'll rarely find a stone monument like Khami, proud and robust, yet gentle as waves, and filled with countless construction mysteries that even modern technology must humbly respect. What we know of Khami especially Its dry stone engineering is only the tip of the iceberg. Beneath each ancient stone lies a fragment of human history and secrets that time has never erased. Before the glorious dynasties of ancient China emerged, before history books recorded the names of the earliest royal houses along the Yellow River, there was once a silent civilization that flourished brilliantly in the Yangtze Delta, a land of flooded fields, interwoven waterways, and mysteries buried for millennia. That was Liangzhu, a jade kingdom, where power, faith, and human ingenuity converged, yet also a place that left posterity with questions that have never been fully answered. Right in the heart of this fertile plain, colossal structures and treasures of jade still whisper the story of a culture that ruled the South over 1,000 years ago, only to vanish suddenly, leaving behind darkness and an endless allure for archaeologists today. What do you think really happened to the mysterious Liangzhu civilization? Will the secrets of their jade treasures and sudden disappearance ever be fully solved? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The Liangzhu civilization, circa 3,300 to 2,300 BCE, was forgotten for thousands of years, only coming to light in the early 20th century when archaeologists began discovering strange sites near Hangzhou, Zhejiang province. They unearthed traces of a grand ancient city relics, of dikes, moats, burial complexes, and most remarkably countless exquisitely crafted jade artifacts unlike anything seen in any other contemporary culture. From these scant traces, a profound question gradually formed: who were the Liangzhu? Where did they come from, and why did they disappear so completely without a trace? When speaking of Liangzhu, one cannot help but think of its jade masterpieces, materials once considered the flesh and blood of heaven and earth in ancient Eastern philosophy. Unlike other civilizations of the same era, which mainly used ceramics, crude stone, or primitive copper, the people of Liangzhu elevated the art of jade craftsmanship to the pinnacle of both technical skill and expressive beauty. Among the discovered artifacts, the most outstanding are the Kong square on the outside round. On the inside, along with bai discs, small figurines, pendants, and mysterious masks, intricately carved with human-animal faces. Some Kong blocks weigh dozens of catties, their surfaces polished to a glossy shine, adorned with demon faces, divine figures, and incredibly precise, perfectly balanced geometric patterns. Many modern researchers believe that even with contemporary machinery and lasers, recreating these motifs in their original form would be extremely difficult, perhaps impossible, without damaging the jade's microscopic structure. To produce such artifacts, the Liangzhu people had to extract jade from distant mountains, transport it to their center, and use highly specialized tools such as quartz, sand drills, turntables, grinding implements, and ultra-fine polishing techniques. The minuscule deep drill marks flawless smoothness, and micro-precision cuts show not only their mastery of physics and mechanics, but also their knowledge of abrasion without chips, a technological leap thousands of years ahead of ancient Egypt or Mesopotamia. Jade in Liangzhu was not merely jewelry or ornamentation. Kong blocks, bai discs, and figurines were found mainly in large tombs, especially those of the elite, where the deceased were buried with hundreds of jade objects, jade weapons, crowns, or sacred masks. Jade became the ultimate symbol of power, reserved only for the ruling class, the divine kings, or supreme shamans to use in rituals, burials, coronations, and succession. Analysis of jade distribution in the tombs reveals a sharp divide between rich and poor. Some commoners' graves had no jade at all, or just one or two small pieces, while the principal tombs contained entire jade treasuries. The square outer and round inner shape of the Kong, with lines connecting the plane and the inner cylinder, has led many scholars to associate it with the Eastern cosmological concept of heaven is round, earth is square. Did the people of Liangzhu understand the laws of the universe through this symbol? Or was it simply a way to reinforce the divine right of the ruling class? On the surface of many artifacts, motifs of human-animal faces, demon faces, and mysterious animals appear in abundance, but their true meaning is still debated. Some research watchers believe they represent protective deities praying for peace and bountiful harvests. Others suspect they are cryptic symbols, an ancient pictographic language that has never been deciphered, and some even suggest that these jade artifacts served as ritual machines used for astronomical measurements, determining the agricultural calendar, or facilitating spiritual rituals to communicate with gods and ancestors. It can be said that Liangzhu was the first culture in China to embody highly centralized power in the hands of an elite leadership, with authority materialized through exquisite jade objects. The existence of earthen palaces, religious complexes, a vast hydraulic system, and outstanding jade craftsmanship all point to a national-level system of organization and governance far surpassing the primitive village societies of the Yellow River region at the same time. Perhaps it was precisely this soft power of jade that created a resilient social order, allowing Liangzhu to maintain its prosperity for over a millennium. Besides jade artistry, Liangzhu was renowned for its system of dikes, reservoirs, and canals encircling the ancient city. Huge earthen walls, tens of meters high and kilometers long, connected residential areas, temples, and tombs. Studies indicate these systems helped prevent floods, irrigate crops, protect the city from natural disasters, and control transport, a testament to extraordinary technical and communal management. Modern archaeologists are still puzzled. How did the Liangzhu, using only stone and wood tools, move and construct such massive volumes of earth and stone and meticulously plan a man-made ecosystem in such detail? To this day, many of Liangzhu's hydraulic engineering feats remain unexplained by modern science. Analysis of tombs, burial goods, and architectural traces indicates that Liangzhu society developed distinct social classes led by divine kings, then aristocrats, shamans, laborers, and farmers. The ruling class controlled all jade sources, directed construction, shaped spiritual life, and may have held absolute power via the deification of jade. Burial rituals were elaborate and grand ceremonies were held, creating a society both practical and metaphysical. Around 2300 BCE, Liangzhu suddenly vanished. There are no signs of great war, no large mass graves, nor evidence of devastating epidemics. Some theories posit that catastrophic floods, possibly the result of climate change, destroyed the hydraulic system and buried the city in mud. Recent geological surveys reveal meter-thick layers of silt covering Liangzhu's ruins, supporting the destroyed by water hypothesis. But why couldn't a civilization that mastered water management adapt? That remains an unanswered question. Today, many historians consider Liangzhu the first foundation of Chinese civilization, a cradle of jade art, ritual practice, social organization, and construction technology. Elements of Liangzhu's faith architecture and jade artistry were passed down to later dynasties from Shang and Zhou to Han and Tang. The discovery and decoding of Liangzhu's relics not only help humanity understand the birth of Eastern civilization, but also raise countless mysteries. What is the true meaning of Liangzhu jade? What secrets still lie buried beneath deep layers of mud? might a treasure trove of knowledge, symbols, and ancient language still await awakening. Liangzhu stands as clear evidence of prehistoric human creativity and intelligence. Liangzhu jade artifacts are not only works of art, but also hold many mysteries regarding social origins, beliefs, and power. Even after more than 4,000 years, these enigmas continue to fascinate and challenge researchers around the world. Perhaps it is this very mystery that has made Liangzhu one of the most captivating civilizations in human history. If one day you find yourself wandering into the heart of the Sudanese desert, where the wind sweeps across layers of golden dust, what would you encounter? Not the familiar silhouettes of the famous pyramids, nor traces of any dazzling ancient city. Instead, what rises before your eyes is the majestic ruin of Musawwarat es-Sufra, a colossal stone labyrinth with hundreds of walls, corridors, and chambers connected as if without end. Why did the ancients construct such a strange and mysterious structure in a place where no one lived? And what is the true message they wish to send to future generations through these towering stone walls still standing firm in the wasteland after thousands of years of being tested by time? What do you think about this mysterious site? Could Musawwarat es-Sufra be hiding secrets we've yet to discover? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Unlike other ancient centers of power that are typically located near great rivers or fertile lands, Musawwarat es-Sufra sits in a place almost entirely isolated from the traces of once thriving settlements. This is the first thing that perplexes scholars. Why choose such an arid land, far from the major cities of the Kushite kingdom, to build such a massive architectural complex? Was this a place reserved only for purposes accessible to a chosen few? The Great Enclosure, the Vongtanlon, is the enigmatic heart of Musawwarat es-Sufra. This structure is not only the largest among Kushite-era monuments, but it is also one of the grandest in all of northeastern Africa, spanning an area of nearly 45,000 square meters, surrounded by thick, tall stone walls, hundreds of small, maze-like chambers, vast courtyards, endless corridors, and countless entrances leading to hidden spaces within. The mere fact of constructing such a wonder right in the desert, with no major water source and far from towns or villages, is enough to evoke a sense of a purpose beyond ordinary needs. Since its discovery and excavation in the mid-20th century, Musawwarat es-Sufra has stirred fierce debate among archaeologists worldwide, centering on the greatest question: what was the Great Enclosure truly for? This is not a temple dedicated to deities in the Egyptian style, nor a traditional royal palace or military fortress. There are no great statues of gods, no royal tombs, no reliefs recording feats of war or the reigns of kings. Everything here is different, mysterious, and out of step with what is known about Kushite civilization. The ancient architects left behind a labyrinth of interconnected small rooms with no clear central convergence point, completely unlike the layouts of temples, palaces, or classic tombs. The courtyards of the Great Enclosure are far too large for personal use, yet they lack typical religious features such as altars, offering tables, or grand sanctuaries. The immense number of walls, the series of chambers, and their asymmetrical arrangement have led many researchers to believe this was not meant for residence or ordinary ritual practice. One of the oldest and most captivating theories about the Great Enclosure's true function is that it was an extremely special religious center, a place for mystical rites beyond the imagination of later generations. Many scholars point to the dense presence of elephant carvings, something never seen in any other Kushite site, as evidence that elephants played a crucial role in the rituals at Musawwarat es-Sufra. Some researchers even suggest it was the venue for elephant sacrifices or processions honoring elephant deities, a belief system separate from Egyptian or ancient Sudanese traditions. Alongside the religious hypothesis is the idea of an elephant training camp like the royal elephant corrals of ancient Asia. The evidence includes not only the abundance of elephant reliefs and statues, but also discovered water reservoirs and elephant pens within the complex. However, if this really was a war elephant training center, why build it in such a remote location, requiring laborious transport of food and fresh water, and why construct such a vast architectural complex solely for this purpose? The answers remain elusive. Another theory proposes the Great Enclosure was a royal zoo home to rare and sacred animals for use in ceremonies or to showcase the power of the Kushite dynasty. The diversity of animal reliefs from elephants, giraffes, lions, and crocodiles to even mythical creatures reinforces the idea of a zoo rich in symbolic meaning. Some historians and archaeologists believe it was a secret meeting place for the Kushite aristocracy, royalty, or high-ranking priests, a venue for power transitions, the transmission of esoteric knowledge, or grand religious congresses, all held beyond the reach of the outside world. It's also possible the Great Enclosure was a sort of monastery or mystical academy, admitting only the chosen who were instructed in special rituals, knowledge, or magical practices unique to Kushite civilization. But so far, no archaeological discovery has confirmed the site's exact function. The silence of the inscriptions on the walls, mostly cryptic symbols and signs rather than conventional writing, deepens the sense of mystery. A major point of contention is the dense presence of symbols, signs, and animal images with unclear meaning. Many scholars believe the walls of the Great Enclosure were transformed into a kind of visual language reserved for a special class in Kushite society, perhaps priests, shamans, or royal family members. The lack of historical records, epics, or writings describing the Great Enclosure's function only intensifies its enigmatic appeal. Some reliefs depict rituals whose content is still unknown, and animal figures of bizarre appearance, such as elephants entwined with snakes or half-animal, half-human beings, hint at a worldview utterly alien at beliefs yet undiscovered in human history. One of the greatest mysteries is the site's location. Musawwarat es-Sufra is not near any major water source, surrounded instead by harsh desert sands and inconvenient for long-term habitation. This has given rise to the theory that the place did not serve day-to-day needs, but was a kind of pilgrimage center or sacred precinct reserved for significant events held cyclically, like grand festivals, cleansing rituals, or ceremonies of power transfer, when people would travel from all over Kush to perform sacred rites before dispersing again. In addition, this isolated location would help guard ritual secrets, protect special knowledge or treasures from outsiders, and create a space distinct from the mundane, a realm where ceremonies could unfold without interruption. What remains today of Musawwarat es-Sufra is but the silent shadow of a civilization once extraordinarily advanced, now erased from history. The ruins are buried under desert sands, with no clear explanation for the collapse or sudden disappearance of the community that built this wonder. Was it a great catastrophe, a climate shift, or some as yet unknown mystery that swept away an entire glorious chapter of Kush? Today, as one walks past thick stone walls, gets lost in the labyrinth of small rooms, faces the strange elephant snake reliefs and countless unreadable symbols, there is an undeniable sense of being lost in a parallel world where time stands still and the past forever whispers unanswerable questions. What was the great enclosure really for? Who built it? And for what purpose? It is this very absence of answers that makes Musawwarat es-Sufra Great Enclosure one of Africa's greatest archaeological enigmas, a wonder that challenges the imagination and understanding of humanity. Each theory opens a new door into the world of untold stories of beliefs, rituals, techniques, and powers that once existed and then vanished with the sands of time. If you've ever thought the Neolithic era was all about primitive huts and undeveloped building techniques, the site of Qara on the island of Cyprus will make you rethink everything you know about prehistory. Amidst windswept lands and barren limestone, these stone circles have stood strong for millennia, posing a silent challenge to every modern civilization. What enabled a community with no iron, no concrete, to build houses that could last so long? Beneath the apparent simplicity of each stone lies hidden technical secrets, organizational thinking, and a spirit of innovation that even today's engineers find intriguing and admirable. Here, Qara is not just the remains of an ancient village. It is an epic testament to human ingenuity, a construction legacy ahead of its time, filled with mysteries that continue to challenge human understanding to this very day. What do you think was the greatest secret behind Qara's lasting stone houses? Share your thoughts in the comments below. More than 6,800 years ago, while most of humanity still struggled with thatched huts and mud walls, the people of Qara pioneered a model of round houses with stone walls up to 1 meter thick, standing 2 to 3 meters high, and with diameters ranging from 2 to 9 meters, a scale unimaginable for the manual craftsmanship of that era. They selected local limestone, a material both hard and durable, but not easy to quarry, transport, or shape with primitive tools. The process of sourcing, extracting, transporting large stone blocks, and assembling them into walls required exceptional organizational skill, understanding of structural mechanics, and material strength far beyond the norm. It should also be emphasized that these stone walls have stood firm for thousands of years, never collapsing or suffering major cracks, withstanding the harsh Mediterranean climate, something many modern buildings cannot maintain without frequent maintenance. With no cement, no rebar, every stone was placed so tightly and precisely that they formed seamless, fortress-like structures. The biggest question remains: how could prehistoric people haul stones weighing hundreds of kilograms up a hillside? Did they use pulleys, levers, or invent some special technique? To date, no archaeological evidence confirms the use of wheels, but traces suggest they understood how to coordinate human power use, wooden levers, rollers, and inclined planes to bring stones to the village. During construction, large stones were placed at the base of the walls, and as the structure rose, smaller stones were used to reduce weight and increase stability. The outer layer was made of large stones, while the inner side was packed with smaller stones, gravel, and rammed earth, creating a sandwich layer that resisted landslides and water seepage. Especially the corners where the wall met the foundation were meticulously treated. The people of Qara understood that a round shape distributes force evenly, preventing cracks at weak points, a principle of mechanics only formalized centuries later in Western theory. The roof remains a major mystery. No intact ancient roof has ever been found. However, analysis of post holes, hearth ashes, and plant remains suggests they may have used large wooden beams arranged like spokes covered with bundles of dry grass and branches, then plastered with clay, forming a flat, load-bearing roof, or a light dome. Some larger houses show evidence of a second floor with a small stone staircase, leading up evidence of sophisticated design and construction skills. Inside the circular houses of Karakitia, archaeologists have discovered many special features: stone benches built into walls, storage niches, hearths sunk into the floor, and small compartments for storing food or ritual items. Everything was constructed skillfully, nothing wasted or superfluous, optimizing space down to every square meter. Some houses even had natural ventilation systems, small windows or vent holes near the roof to draw out hot air, reduce summer heat, and retain warmth in winter. Remarkably advanced solutions for Neolithic survival. Many houses were built in clusters, forming connected house complexes that shared walls or foundations. This coordinated design required community-wide planning as well as high-quality control of every construction stage. It is no coincidence that the village of Karakitia lasted for nearly 2,000 years, with hardly any significant downgrade in structural quality. In addition to houses, Karakitia is also renowned for its formidable defensive wall system encircling the village, rising up to 2 meters high, nearly 1 meter thick, winding along the hillsides. These walls not only protected against wild animals and strangers, but also served as sacred boundaries for the community. Notably, the wall was designed with secret passageways, hidden staircases, and small watchposts scattered throughout, revealing an unexpectedly advanced understanding of military and defensive strategy. Moreover, geotechnical research shows the foundation of Kirakitia's walls was meticulously engineered, excavated down to stable soil layers lined with large pebbles at the base, with progressively smaller stones above both to increase grip and prevent sinking. This technique is in no way inferior to those found in major contemporary works of Asia Minor or Mesopotamia. What amazes researchers is that building circular stone houses demanded not only technical skills, but also a high degree of labor organization and communal knowledge sharing. The people of Karakitia did not only build for their own families, but could join forces, take turns transporting materials, and participate in common projects such as walls, walkways, and wells. This indicates they knew how to plan, had overseers, managing construction, and perhaps even master craftsmen, passing down secrets across generations. Evidence shows the housing model's stone-laying methods, bench building, and hearths all adhered to certain technical standards, not improvised individually. Such consistency could only be achieved if the community had a system of vocational education and strict labor discipline qualities often underestimated in prehistoric societies. Most other ancient villages in Europe, the Near East, and North Africa at that time used thatched huts, mud houses, or small, fragile constructions, rarely surviving intact for thousands of years. In contrast, Karakitia established a distinct legacy, a system of stone roundhouses, sturdy defensive walls, logical planning, and the ability to survive through many climate fluctuations and epidemics. Even renowned ancient cities such as Jericho and Çatalhöyük required many more centuries to reach comparable durability. Thus, many experts consider Karakitia a technical beacon, where the construction level far exceeded its era, laying the foundation for later dry stone building techniques in the Mediterranean. Unsurprisingly, many round stone structures on Cyprus, even those built thousands of years after Karakitia vanished, still bear the technical imprint of this golden age. Although many construction techniques have been reconstructed through models, experiments, archaeological research, Karakitia still harbors major questions that continue to puzzle researchers. Where did they obtain such large quantities of limestone for building without carts or draft animals for transportation? Who was responsible for designing the overall layout of the entire village? Was there truly a chief architect in prehistoric times? Why did this unique construction technique develop so strongly only in Cyprus and not spread throughout the eastern Mediterranean, even though neighboring regions had similar geological conditions? And how did the people of Kyrgyzstan control the quality and precision of their construction without measuring tools or any kind of modern leveling equipment? In the face of these mysteries, many theories have been proposed. Perhaps the people of Kyrgyzstan possessed special oral knowledge, or maybe there was once a technical exchange with other cultures whose traces have since vanished. Some also believe that their success lay in strict social organization, a strong community spirit, or even in their spiritual worldview, building houses and villages as sacred rituals in which every member was devoted to achieving perfection. Today, the round houses of Kyrgyzstan are not only archaeological relics, but also an inspiration for sustainable building techniques, environmental protection, and the use of local materials. Many modern architects and designers study the Kyrgyzstan roundhouse model to apply to eco-housing and community projects in harsh climates. More importantly, Kyrgyzstan poses a crucial lesson. Even without machinery or modern materials, with knowledge, creativity, and community spirit, humans can build for eternity across time. Those round walls, standing tall through thousands of years, still whisper a timeless message. The pinnacle of technology lies not in devices, but in the intellect and hands of humankind. Kyrgyzstan circular houses, the symbol of construction technology ahead of its time, stand as proof of the extraordinary creativity of prehistoric humanity. Amidst countless hardships, they left behind for posterity a challenge of knowledge, organization, and technique, a mysterious circle that every new generation yearns to unravel. In the heart of the ancient deserts of southern Jordan, more than 9,000 years ago, humanity carved a timeless mystery into stone. The plastered skulls of Basta are not merely archaeological remnants of a prehistoric civilization, they stand as evidence of a technical and artistic explosion, far beyond what anyone could have imagined. With nothing but primitive hands and extraordinary creativity, people of the past brought back to life the faces of the dead in hauntingly realistic detail, creating some of the world's very first works of art, where craftsmanship and personal emotion fused into an enduring legacy. Behind each reconstructed face lies not only deep spiritual belief, but also the greatest challenge for modern scientists. How did Neolithic people achieve such heights of technical and artistic mastery in an age when tools were still so primitive? How do you think ancient people managed to create such detailed and durable plaster faces using only primitive tools? Do you believe they had secret techniques we still haven't discovered? Share your ideas in the comments below. Imagine traveling back millennia, stepping into a humble mud brick house on the ancient desert plain. Beneath the floor, inside hidden compartments, people discover human skulls restored with vivid, lifelike faces, even their eyes seeming to gaze back at you. No longer just dry, soulless bones, these faces emerge through masterful application of plaster, with details so strange and precise, noses built up high, lips thick or thin, according to the individual eye sockets, inlaid with ivory white seashells or stone's eyebrows, darkly and meticulously painted. Some skulls even bear traces of painted lips or decorative lines around the eyes and mouth, a primitive three-dimensional restoration that nevertheless appears astonishingly lifelike. When these skulls were found, archaeologists could not help but shudder as if confronted with the immortal stares of the past. If we only consider the outward appearance, the Basta plastered skulls are already highly impressive. But when we delve into their technical and artistic aspects, we become truly haunted by the astonishing impossibility of these achievements in their historical context. More than 9,000 years ago, the people of Basta mainly survived by hunting, gathering, and rudimentary farming. Their construction and pottery skills were still crude with virtually no metal tools. Everything relied on stone, bone, and wood. Yet somehow, they had already mastered the making of lime mixing, of plaster, calculating water ratios, selecting natural additives, and using the sharpest available implements such as flint and animal bones to sculpt fine details on human skulls. The process of reconstructing these faces is believed to have been extremely elaborate. After death, the heads of certain special individuals would be separated from their bodies, thoroughly cleaned of flesh and fat, leaving only the skull and sometimes the jawbone. Then, ancient artisans would sculpt a face onto the bone. A foundational layer of plaster would provide thickness. Then each nose, cheek, chin, and lip would be individually modeled by hand, skillfully imitating the person's features. Especially notable pieces of seashell stone and even smoothed eggshell were set into the eye sockets, creating eyes that stare directly forward, full of spirit and depth. Some skulls were painted reddish-brown or black around the mouth, and eyes evoking a sense of makeup or some kind of symbolic coding. Most of the skulls retain a natural, undistorted look, a feat extremely difficult to achieve with only primitive tools and rough materials. Astonishingly, the plaster technology at Basta was incredibly durable. After thousands of years buried underground, many faces remain nearly intact, proving that their mixing, drying, compression, and preservation techniques reached a remarkable level of perfection. Even now, with advanced CT scanning technology, scientists have not been able to determine the exact mixing ratios, the types of additives, or the drying methods that ancient people used. It seems that Basta Jericho and several neighboring regions developed their own distinctive school of plaster sculpture, far surpassing what was thought possible for the era. But it wasn't just about technique. The artistic sensibility of the people of Basta was truly remarkable. Not every face looked alike. Some male skulls featured high cheekbones and strong, square jaws. Some female skulls displayed soft lines, thin lips, and long eyes. Some skulls bore marks of old age, such as wrinkles or sunken cheeks, while others evoked youthfulness with small noses and chubby cheeks. In other words, these artisans didn't just create generic masks, but strove to reconstruct individual, personalized portraits, showcasing an extraordinary level of aesthetic perception and observational skill, deeply humane in nature. Some theories even suggest that these skulls are humanity's very first portraits, marking a historical turning point from abstract cave art to a mindset of realistic representation. If so, the Basta plastered skulls are not only archaeological artifacts, but also the greatest artistic milestone of prehistoric times. Why did the ancient Basta people devote so much time, effort, and resources to rebirthing the faces of the dead? What was the true purpose? Ancestor worship, sending off the soul, protecting the clan from evil, or simply honoring individuals? Whatever the reason, this process was clearly not for everyone, but reserved for those with special status, leaders, shamans, revered individuals, or spiritual pillars of the community. The fact that only a few were given reconstructed faces, while most others were buried normally or without their heads, deepens the mystery. Was this a sign of social stratification or a manifestation of unique spiritual beliefs regarding the soul and power? Some suggest These skulls might have served as protective charms placed beneath house floors to safeguard the living, binding the past and present into one. Yet all evidence remains ambiguous, and each new discovery only complicates existing theories. Curiously, the custom of reconstructing plastered skulls was not unique to Basta, but spread throughout the Levant from Jericho, Palestine, Ain Ghazal, Jordan, and Tel Ramad, Syria, to Kafar HaHoresh, Israel. Each site had its own variations in technique and decoration. Some painted eyebrows, others red lips, some used whole shells, others just painted the eyes. This suggests a widespread artistic and religious movement during the Neolithic Levant. However, the greatest mystery is why this practice abruptly vanished after just a few centuries, with no trace in later cultures. Was there a religious or social upheaval, or did artistic and spiritual thinking simply shift to new forms? To this day, every time a plastered skull is unearthed at Basta, humanity is once again astonished by the creativity of our ancestors. Beneath the plaster lie faces that transcend time, telling stories of emotion, faith, and the longing for immortality. These skulls are not only archaeological artifacts, but have become enduring symbols of memory, linking the past with the present. If we consider art as a milestone in social development, then the legacy at Basta is truly a miraculous turning point, where people using the most primitive materials created masterpieces that surpassed the limits of their era. Basta plastered skulls are not just archaeological evidence, but also a symbol of humanity's yearning to preserve memory and create everlasting art. These reconstructed faces have gazed upon humanity for thousands of years, serving as both witnesses to history and profound questions about human nature. Why do we fear oblivion? Why does art always accompany memory and the sacred? And perhaps through each immortal face, our ancestors wish to tell us, even if time erases everything, art and memory will always live on with humanity. Amidst the ancient mists and cold waters of the Orkney archipelago, Ness of Brodgar is not just an archaeological site. It is a stone wonder, a place where creativity, mystery, and the challenge to modern understanding of our prehistoric ancestors all converge. As the final layers of earth were removed, this complex gradually emerged: colossal walls, abstract carvings, and a level of construction ingenuity that defies the imagination of any other ancient civilization in Europe. Unlike the silent presence of Stonehenge, Ness of Brodgar resembles a vibrant city buried in the memory of time, where every stone slab, every wall remains an enigma. Here, the secrets of construction techniques, community organization, and the grand vision of Neolithic people still seem beyond the reach of modern science. Each layer of stone, every architectural detail, raises questions without answers, challenging all previous theories about the capabilities and knowledge of our ancient predecessors. What do you find most mysterious about Ness of Brodgar? Do you have any theories about how ancient people could have built such a wonder? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Ness of Brodgar is not a single building, but rather a vast architectural complex consisting of dozens of interlocking structures connected by thick stone walls, corridors, paved courtyards, and even areas believed to be ceremonial zones, meeting halls or temples. The most prominent of these structures, Structure 10, measures over 20 meters in length, with walls up to 5 meters thick and corners aligned with near-perfect precision. The entire Ness of Brodgar is surrounded by a massive stone wall, essentially a megalithic fortification with an average thickness approaching 5 meters, a number that shocks anyone who studies construction techniques of this era. What makes Ness of Brodgar stand out from any other prehistoric monument is the way ancient people applied construction techniques that went far beyond the imagination of their era. Right from the stage of material selection and quarrying, the Neolithic inhabitants of Orkney posed a major question for posterity. How could they extract and transport thousands of massive stone blocks weighing up to several tons without any metal tools, wheels, or draft animals? The sandstone slabs at Ness of Brodgar were chosen with extreme care, many blocks uniform in size, their surfaces flat and seemingly polished or cut, using techniques that to this day modern science has yet to fully replicate. Some theories suggest the ancients may have used fire to heat the rock before dousing it with cold water to split it, or used wooden wedges in combination with human strength. But no experiment so far has achieved the same level of precision as found at Ness of Brodgar. Another miracle lies in the technique of joining the stones entirely without any adhesive like mortar mud or clay. The joints between the large stone blocks here are so tight that not even a knife blade could slip between them, allowing the walls to stand firm for millennia, despite the harsh impacts of sea winds, cold rain, and snow. The walls, 4 to 5 meters thick, consist of many layers of large stones interspersed with cushion layers of smaller stones, demonstrating a deep understanding of materials force distribution and anti-collapse strategies. Notably, at intersections, stones are laid in a zigzag pattern to increase strength, showcasing a mindset remarkably similar to that of modern engineers. The interior space of Ness of Brodgar also amazes archaeologists with its complexity and rationality. As they excavate layer by layer, numerous doors, corridors, and rooms emerge, arranged logically and naturally to guide movement. Entrances, exits, meeting rooms, gathering spaces, and private areas were all carefully considered in terms of wind direction and natural lighting. Some places even include blind spots, deliberately designed for spiritual effect or to limit sightlines. Several areas feature large stone-paved floors, some decorated with spiral motifs or repeating lines that appear like mysterious symbols. Remarkably, many smaller structures were built atop or carefully buried beneath others, which leads researchers to believe these may signal special rituals relating to the cycle of life endings and rebirth. The enclosing wall around Ness of Brodgar is nearly 5 meters thick, creating a protective barrier that seems impregnable for the Neolithic era. Yet this is not merely a defensive wall, since there is no sign of war or conflict throughout the site. This raises a major question. Could the wall's true role have been to mark sacred territory, to create the prestige and symbolic power of the community, functioning as a religious wall rather than a military construction? Another unique feature of Ness of Brodgar is the exquisitely carved motifs and symbols on the stones. Spirals, repeated geometric patterns, connecting lines, and parallel grooves appear on many slabs, some hidden beneath the floor. To this day, no one has been able to decipher the true meaning of these decorations, though some theories suggest they were early forms of notation, expressing ideology, belief, or marking special astronomical events. Finally, the layer upon layer construction technique is especially evident in some of the larger structures, such as Structure 10. Outside are sturdy walls, inside a system of small rooms and paved courtyards, then layers of soil and sand mixed with seashells, animal bones, and charcoal, perhaps, to stabilize the foundation or provide moisture resistance. Notably, the builders maximized the use of local materials, red sandstone, lime soil, and even large animal bones to reinforce the structure. All of these details reveal a remarkable combination of theory and practice, a feat of applied engineering that even today modern science cannot fully explain. After hundreds of years of research and more than 2 decades of modern excavation, Ness of Brodgar still shrouds itself in mystery regarding both its construction techniques and its true purpose. To this day, people remain puzzled as to how ancient builders could have erected such a monumental complex in such an isolated island setting. Where did they find the resources, the manpower, and the advanced technology? And was there some central authority or power that orchestrated the entire process? How were massive stone blocks weighing several tons transported across marshes and locks? And by what methods were they assembled into vast walls without the use of any binding agents? What is the real meaning behind these buildings, the formidable walls and the intricate carvings? Are they traces of ancient rituals, an archaic astronomical system, or symbols of power and territory? Furthermore, many structures at Ness of Brodgar have been found deliberately dismantled or buried, as if to mark the end of a cycle or to perform a decommissioning ritual as understood by that ancient community. All these questions suggest that Ness of Brodgar is far more than just a temple, a fortress, or a meeting center. It is, in essence, a stone message left by our ancestors for future generations, a testament to their extraordinary technical prowess and grand vision during the Neolithic era, achievements that even modern science struggles to fully comprehend when faced with the material limitations of that distant age. Standing before these monumental stacked stones, meter-thick walls, and mysterious carvings, modern people cannot help but be awed and humbled. Ness of Brodgar is a powerful reminder that greatness does not require machines or metal. With nothing but stone, intellect, patience, and communal will, our ancestors have left us with a puzzle that has lasted for millennia. Ness of Brodgar also compels us to re-examine our prejudices about prehistoric technical abilities. They were not primitive, but may have possessed remarkable organizational skills, construction know-how, and architectural thinking, far surpassing many later classical civilizations. Every stone here is a link in a grand, mysterious story that humanity is still gradually deciphering. If we had to choose a symbol for the creativity and timeless adaptability of ancient humans, the Tel Rehov Apiary Complex, a prehistoric industrial-scale beekeeping site discovered in the Beit Shean Valley, Israel, deserves a top spot. Amid countless mysteries of Near Eastern archaeology, Tel Rehov stands out as vivid evidence that the intelligence, technical thinking, and strategic vision of our ancestors far surpassed what we once imagined. Here, scientists found not only traces of ancient beekeeping, but also uncovered a highly advanced honey production system from the Iron Age, opening a door to a mysterious world of technology, economics, religion, and inter-civilizational exchange. From the moment it was unearthed, the Tel Rehov Apiary Complex stunned the scientific community with its scale and complexity. More than 30 cylindrical clay pipes, each up to 80 centimeters long and nearly 40 centimeters in diameter, aligned in rows inside ancient buildings, were buried amidst earth that is over 3 millennia old. Experts quickly realized these were not ordinary jars, nor were they places for storing food or daily items. They were artificial beehives meticulously designed for one purpose, producing honey on an industrial scale, a giant leap from the sporadic and small-scale wild honey harvesting practiced by other cultures of the time. What do you find most mysterious or impressive about the Tel Rehov Apiary, its technology, the origins of the bees, or its religious role? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Tel Rehov truly represents a leap forward in ancient humanity's beekeeping technology. What is astonishing is not just the scale of the apiary complex, but also the era-defying creativity in the way active beekeeping was practiced. Whereas in the past, traces of ancient beekeeping were limited to wall paintings in Egypt or a few fragments of beeswax and bee remains scattered at archaeological sites across Europe, Tel Rehov is the first place in the world where a complete industrial beekeeping system has been discovered with dozens of modular clay beehive tubes, all optimally designed for harvesting, observation, and tending the colonies. Each clay tube had two ends, one sealed and the other removable, and even included a small hole in the body so beekeepers could easily observe or interact with the hive without alarming the bees. These tubes were arranged in rows, each with 7 to 8 tubes stacked 3 to 4 levels high, creating robust bee walls that maximized space, ensured natural ventilation, and provided ideal conditions for care and harvesting. This very design laid the foundation for the oldest known ancestors of today's modern hive boxes, now widely used in apiaries around the world. Thanks to this, bee colonies were effectively protected from sun, wind, and storms, while beekeepers could actively manage colony density, prevent disease, and conveniently harvest honey and wax without destroying the entire hive. These outstanding advantages allowed honey production and economic efficiency at Tel Rehov to reach levels rarely seen in that era, cementing the special place of this apiary in the history of technological development. The greatest mystery Tel Rehov poses: who invented this industrial beekeeping technique and why is it unique to Tel Rehov? In Egypt, depictions of beekeeping date to the Old Kingdom, but only with small horizontal clay pipes at very modest scales, and without evidence of a complex industrial apiary like Tel Rehov's. In Anatolia, Greece, even Persia, though bees and honey were known, no apiary complex has been found to match Tel Rehov in completeness, hive number, or technological consistency. Some propose the technique originated in Anatolia, modern Turkey, spreading to the Levant via trade routes. However, when analyzing the pottery characteristics, manufacturing methods, and pipe structures at Tel Rehov, experts discovered features unique to this site, unlike any other known tradition. Perhaps Tel Rehov's inhabitants, the ancient Canaanites/Israelites, developed the method independently for local needs. If so, this is powerful evidence of advanced technical skill, organization, and systemic thinking, a finding that further amazed scientists. Bee fossils, honeycomb, and DNA samples from Tel Rehov's hives do not match Israel's native bees. Chemical, morphological, and molecular studies show the bees originated from Anatolia, hundreds of kilometers to the north. Why didn't the ancients use local bees, but went to the trouble to import them from afar? The most plausible theory: local Israeli bees were too aggressive or unsuitable for industrial-scale beekeeping or produced less honey. In contrast, Anatolian bees were docile, easy to manage, high-yielding, and ideal for dense hive arrangements. This means the people of Tel Rehov had sophisticated knowledge of selective breeding and importation, even international biological management, a remarkably advanced form of bioengineering and trade. They may have transported bee colonies or queens by land or sea from Anatolia to Tel Rehov, then raised, bred, and maintained the desired gene pool. This process was complex, requiring temperature control, feeding, disease prevention, and individual selection, demonstrating biotechnological choices far earlier than traditional history suggests. An apiary of this scale could not have been run by a single household. It was the result of community organization with economic scale, labor division, and specialized skills. Researchers estimate with about 100 active hives, the apiary could produce hundreds of kilograms of honey annually enough to supply locals and export to cities, temples, or merchants across the ancient Near East. Evidence of wax processing rooms, honey storage areas, pottery, tools, stone hammers, storage jars, all point to a clear specialization. Managing, caring for bees, harvesting honey/wax, and processing products required knowledge, skills, and a management system, an organized society passing down know-how through generations. During excavation, archaeologists also found small clay figurines, floral motifs, female idols, even ritual traces linked to bees, proving beekeeping was tied to local religion. In many ancient cultures, bees and honey symbolize fertility, rebirth, femininity, and the link between earthly and divine. Honey was a luxury food used in offerings, mummification, medicine, candles for rituals, even as an ingredient in mead. These findings reinforce the theory that the Tel Rehov apiary was not just an economic hub, but also a spiritual center, producing honey and wax for religious ceremonies, agricultural festivals, and possibly political religious power consolidation among local leaders. One of Tel Rehov's greatest mysteries: why was such an advanced, large-scale apiary suddenly abandoned? There are no signs of warfare or major disaster. Some theorize climate change reduced floral resources, bee epidemics struck, or political/economic upheaval, like shifts in trade routes, regional conflicts, made large-scale beekeeping unviable. Alternatively, the rise of new apiary regions or the emergence of new bee strains/diseases could have completely changed the area's apicultural structure. To this day, the exact reasons remain unknown, posing major questions about the volatility of ancient economies and adaptability to environmental and social challenges. Today, Tel Rehov stands as clear evidence of the remarkable development of ancient beekeeping technology, where human intelligence and creativity are reflected in every detail. The lessons of systemic thinking, technological innovation, and adaptability that Tel Rehov leaves behind are still valuable to the modern world. This apiary was both the pinnacle of beekeeping in the ancient Near East and a reminder that every technological achievement contains hidden mysteries waiting for future generations to continually explore and decipher. The Tel Rehov Apiary Complex is a unique symbol of ancient industrial beekeeping. Behind its technical perfection lie unsolved mysteries: origins, operation, religious meaning, bee selection, and its unexpected collapse. This site powerfully proves that humans have always known how to innovate, experiment, and adapt, even when facing the toughest limitations of their era and harsh nature. On the southern edge of the Sahara, amidst vast arid sand seas and ancient rocky hills, lie traces of one of Africa's earliest and most enigmatic urban civilizations, the Tchitwalata stone towns. These are not just ordinary archaeological sites, they are living testimony to a culture that once flourished brilliantly and then mysteriously disappeared, leaving behind thousands of solid stone structures whose construction techniques still astonish modern scientists today. What do you think is the most mysterious thing about the Tchitwalata stone towns? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The stone towns of Tchitwalata Nema appeared around 4,000 years ago, contemporaneous with the ancient Egyptian pyramids, yet entirely isolated in West Africa. At that time, this land was still valleys and arid basins bordering receding lakes, surrounded by ancient cliffs. Unlike most major civilizations that emerged alongside great rivers, the Nile, Mesopotamia, the Indus, the Yellow River, Tchitwalata stands as a symbol of humanity's determination to overcome harsh limitations to build a complex, organized, and remarkably creative society. Nothing is more astonishing than witnessing what remains of Tichit Tewalata, thousands of dry stone stacked structures, homes, ramparts, storage facilities, water tanks, ovens spanning dozens of square kilometers. What surprises archaeologists the most is that everything was built entirely from stone, with no mortar, no cement, and no binding material. The stones were carefully selected, usually hard sandstone or basalt-shaped and sized to fit. Stacking was not just about piling rocks, it was an art of maximizing friction and distributing weight, allowing walls up to 2 meters high to stand firm for millennia amid the Sahara's fierce sandstorms. In some places, the ramparts stretch for dozens of meters, winding along hilly and rocky terrain. Corners are skillfully rounded to resist the wind. Some structures even have window systems, ventilation holes, and stone stairs. Raised foundations help prevent rare flash floods and protect against wild animals. The biggest question: how could people of the Stone Age, without ox carts or modern iron tools, transport, lift, and assemble such large stones weighing hundreds of kilograms across extremely difficult terrain? Notably, many walls remain intact after 4,000 years, unsunken, uncracked, or collapsed, even without mortar. Modern scientists have had to admit, relying solely on the technology of the time, it's hard to explain the durability and complexity of these stone structures. Some theories suggest that the Tichit people used simple lever and pulley systems or organized teams to harness manpower. However, no written instructions or illustrations have been found. Everything is speculation based on archaeological evidence. Impressively, these stone towns also reveal advanced urban planning for their era. Streets narrow, alleys, central squares, production areas, and storage zones are neatly divided. Each house block is usually square or rectangular, with an entrance, a small storage room for grains, and a courtyard to avoid the sun. Large constructions served as water reservoirs or emergency food stores, demonstrating amazing adaptation to the ever-harsher semi-desert climate. There are areas dedicated to food processing and seed storage. Some archaeologists have even discovered burial sites and small religious figurines indicating a rich and complex spiritual life. On many stones, archaeologists have found engravings, symbols, and reliefs with a unique style completely different from Egypt or the Sahel region. There are spiral signs resembling writing depictions of humans, animals, and the sun. Many images remain undeciphered, shrouding the entire culture in mystery. Notably, the sculpture and use of stone symbols by the people of Tichit Walata show that they were not only skilled builders, but also had a profound ideology, possibly agricultural beliefs, ancestor worship, or unique survival rituals in the harsh desert. Another highlight of Tichit Walata is its very early development of dry land agriculture. Archaeological evidence shows they grew millet beans, sorghum crops, well adapted to drought. They built terraces, small irrigation channels from the basins and stone reservoirs to maximize scarce rainfall. This stable agricultural development laid the foundation for population booms and the rise of large stone towns. Archaeologists estimate that tens of thousands of people may have lived here during its golden age. One of the greatest mysteries of Tichit Walata is who built these stone cities. There are no clear historical records, and local legends blur fact and fiction. Many researchers believe they were the ancestors of the Soninka people who later founded the powerful Ghana Empire, the first great gold kingdom of West Africa. However, the transition from Tichit to Walata to later cultures is hazy, with no clear linguistic or traditional continuity, making the question of their origins and purpose even more enigmatic. Some bold theories suggest Tichit Walata was a crucial link in trans-Saharan trade routes connecting Egypt, Carthage, and the Mediterranean with West Africa. The discovery of copper artifacts, precious stones, and marine animal fossils indicates the exchange of goods and technological ideas between civilizations that seemed geographically and culturally distant. If true, Ticit was not just a forgotten civilization in the desert, but also a creative hub, spreading construction techniques, art, and beliefs throughout ancient Africa. Around 500 BC, traces of life in these stone towns began to fade, with neighborhoods abandoned and buildings falling apart. Climate change, desertification, dwindling water resources, or conflict may have been causes, but unusual events cannot be ruled out. Notably, archaeological sites reveal no evidence of large-scale wars or pandemics, making the silent disappearance of an entire civilization even stranger. To this day, most Ticit remains are still buried deep under the Sahara's hot sands, yet to be fully excavated due to extreme climate and security challenges. Many mysteries about their construction techniques, daily life, spirituality, and fate remain waiting to be uncovered. Ticit stone towns stand as a miraculous testament to human creativity, survival instinct, and adaptability. In the harshest natural conditions, they built enduring towns with stone construction techniques that still challenge even modern engineers. The combination of technical skill, social organization, artistic creativity, and willpower has created a mysterious and captivating chapter of human history. Standing among these ancient stone ruins, one cannot help but wonder how many secrets of Ticit are still buried under the Sahara's hot sands. What enabled them to build such a magnificent stone city? And what caused it to vanish almost without a trace? These questions will continue to inspire scientists, explorers, and anyone fascinated by the unsolved mysteries of human history. In the desolate desert of eastern Jordan, where scorching heat wears down all life, there lies a silent mountain range known as Jebel Qara. Isolated from modern cities, this place has witnessed thousands of years of history pass by without any visible change to its appearance. On those rugged slopes, hundreds, perhaps thousands, of strange stone structures remain quietly in place, like the mute records of a long-lost civilization. Stone circles, stone fences, cairns stacked one upon another, and even the ruins of collapsed stone towers, all these drape Jebel Qara in a mysterious veil, attracting archaeologists, explorers, and history enthusiasts to seek the answer to one of humanity's biggest questions. Why did our ancestors build these structures in such a barren desert, and what did they use them for? What do you think was the real purpose of these mysterious stone structures? Share your thoughts in the comments below. At first glance, Jebel Qara makes a strong impression thanks to the diversity in form and scale of its stoneworks. There are stone circles, dozens of meters wide, square cairns, stone fences stretching hundreds of meters along the slopes, and piles of stones stacked high like markers for something very important. Some structures are just simple circles, but some are so complex that they resemble a giant map made of stone, sprawled across the land. Seen from above, they're even more astonishing: straight lines, intersections, concentric circles, as if the work of a master architect, yet no one really knows who their true builders were or what intentions they had when laboriously arranging these heavy rocks in such a harsh environment. From the very moment these stone structures at Jebel Qara were discovered and began to be studied in depth during the 20th century, they have sparked endless debates about their true purpose. In reality, up to now, there has been no explanation considered entirely convincing, only a range of different hypotheses, each with compelling arguments, but also unavoidable gaps that are difficult to fill. One of the most prominent theories suggests that the stone circles and cairns at Jebel Qara were used as burial sites or for ancestor worship rituals. This theory gained support from the presence of similar circles, cairns, and cenotaphs in many other ancient civilizations around the world, from Stonehenge in England to stone circles in northern Africa. However, when excavating Jebel Qara, archaeologists have found very few human remains or accompanying grave goods. Many stone circles show no trace of ashes, bones, or any ritual tools. This raises a major question. If these really were cemeteries, why is there no clear evidence of funerary activity? Alongside this, another hypothesis proposes that these stone structures once served as places of worship, community gatherings, or sites for collective rituals related to spiritual beliefs, mythology, or even for marking astronomical events. In fact, not a few stone circles and straight stone alignments at Jebel Qara are oriented to match the sunrise or sunset on special days of the year, such as the solstices, suggesting a function as a proto-astronomical calendar. Yet confirming such alignments is difficult, as the stones have been eroded and shifted over thousands of years, and most importantly, there are absolutely no signs or inscriptions to explain their original meaning. There are also opinions that these stone structures are simply territorial markers for ancient nomadic tribes, or even waypoints along migration routes crossing the desert. Tall cairns are easily recognized from afar, making them extremely suitable for marking rare water sources or safe passageways through harsh landscapes. Some structures are even arranged in consecutive chains, connected together like an ancient guidance system. But if the sole purpose was navigation or territorial boundaries, was it really necessary to create circles or such complex shapes that demanded so much effort? It is also impossible not to mention the theory that Jebel Qara was an early astronomical observatory for prehistoric people, where ancient humans watched the movements of the sun-moon constellations and other remarkable natural phenomena. The straight stone alignments may have been used to mark sunrise or sunset points throughout the year, while the stone circles might represent cycles such as years, agricultural seasons, or day and night. Nevertheless, up to now, there has been no definitive archaeological evidence to confirm this connection, and it is entirely possible that the alignments are merely coincidental. Finally, some modern scholars have to admit that Jebel Qara may be hiding a purpose we today simply cannot imagine. Perhaps this place was once a center of spiritual power for a civilization swept away by time. Or perhaps these structures are in essence a kind of massive symbolic language carrying messages meant for future generations or even for beings not of this earth. The enigma of Jebel Qara's purpose reminds us of many other famous ancient stoneworks: Stonehenge, England, the Nazca lines, Peru, desert kites across the Arabian Peninsula, or great enclosures in Africa. All share common ground, built with extraordinary effort, requiring communal cooperation. But their true purpose remains unclear after their creators' civilizations have disappeared and their languages or ways of thinking are now incomprehensible. Jebel Qara stands as a prime example of the silent heritage of human history. We know it's important, we sense its sacredness and the immense labor involved, but we can only speculate. Surveys at Jebel Qara over more than 50 years have revealed many stone structures of varying size and shape, but almost no tangible artifacts to help pinpoint their original function. There are no illustrative rock carvings, no pottery, weapons, or clear personal items. The absence of physical evidence makes every theory about their purpose increasingly tenuous. Could it be that the ancients intentionally left these constructions in a wordless state, leaving time and posterity to interpret them freely? Some recent research suggests Jebel Qara isn't alone, but is a link in a network of stone sites stretching across the deserts of Jordan, Syria, and the Arabian Peninsula. Stone circles, desert kites, and mysterious stone alignments may connect into a larger system reflecting the lifestyle beliefs or even information maps of ancient communities. But if this is true, what drove people living 6,000 to 9,000 years ago to build such a vast system only from loose rocks in such harsh natural conditions? Perhaps their purpose transcends ordinary guesses about religion, territory, or astronomy. Maybe these were expressions of community identity, marks of power, or a kind of spiritual genetic identity of this land. It can be said that the more we study Jebel Qara, the more scientists realize the limitations of modern methods when faced with ancient imagination and belief. No matter how plausible every theory about their purpose is just a reflection of 21st century views imposed on prehistoric heritage. Maybe the function of these stone structures isn't a single clear-cut purpose, but a blend of many meanings. As spiritual sites, waypoints, ancestral memorials, or reminders of humanity's smallness before nature. Perhaps the most fascinating thing about Jebel Qara is not just the arrangement of its strange stones, but the very question left unanswered. What did ancient people think, hope for, and put into these structures? Maybe each stone is a prayer, a trace of fear before nature, or proof of humanity's yearning for eternity. Perhaps the very incompleteness and unresolved purpose is the real meaning our ancestors left us, that every generation must stop, listen, reflect, and write their own chapter of the Jebel Qara story. Jebel Qara stone structures with their ancient circles, cairns, and towers represent one of the greatest mysteries regarding the purpose of ancient constructions. Whether they were cemeteries, observatories, or ceremonial centers, it is this very mystery that sparks curiosity and drives people to keep exploring. Perhaps the most valuable thing about Jebel Qara lies not in the answers, but in the ongoing journey to seek meaning, a journey that continues endlessly. For thousands of years, the Minoan civilization on the island of Crete has remained a major enigma in human history. When it comes to the Minoan palaces, most people think of the splendid Knossos, the Grand Phaistos, or the ancient Malia, but few know that hidden deep in eastern Crete lies Zakros Palace, a uniquely isolated and strange relic that once played an irreplaceable role in the network of power, faith, and commerce of the Minoans. This strange isolation has raised a series of questions. What was Zakros in the world of the Minoans, and what happened here that caused it to suddenly fall into oblivion? What do you think Zakros Palace is really hiding behind its isolation and mysterious ending? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Zakros Palace is located in a narrow valley completely separate from the other three major palaces, without the fertile plains or vital trading positions of Knossos or Malia. The only road to Zakros is a rugged trail winding through limestone hills and dense forests, finally ending at a small bay facing the Aegean Sea. This location is not only far from centers of power, but also resembles a secret base, both protected and easy to control access. Perhaps it was this isolation that allowed Zakros to keep secrets unknown to the rest of the Minoan world. Or is this simply the result of being excluded from the great game of power? Surprisingly, despite its isolated appearance, Zakros Palace was one of the busiest trade centers during the Minoan Golden Age. Numerous artifacts unearthed here show that Zakros once brought together merchants from Egypt, Mesopotamia, the distant Near East, and even Asia. Ceramic vases, ivory gemstones, jewelry, ritual objects, and religious items, all bearing the marks of many different cultures. This diversity proves that Zakros was not backward or left behind, but may have been a secret link in the trade network where major deals took place out of the control of large centers like Knossos. Was there a black market here, a hidden network of power, operating quietly but effectively? Zakros stands out not only for its location and trading role, but also for its architecture. Although smaller in scale than Knossos, Zakros' structure is highly calculated and complex. There are countless treasure vaults, secret rooms, spiral corridors, and ceremonial rooms arranged hidden behind thick walls, connected by underground passages or secret staircases. Zakros' drainage system is considered one of the outstanding technical achievements of the time, showing that the inhabitants paid special attention to asset protection and keeping internal activities secret. The ceremonial rooms deep inside the palace were inaccessible to anyone but the elite, a design seemingly for secret rituals or the practices of a secret society completely hidden from the public eye. The murals, ritual objects, and linear A inscriptions, still undeciphered today, are found in abundance at Zakros, featuring countless symbols and images unseen in any other Minoan palace. This raises the hypothesis Zakros may have been a religious fortress of a mysterious sect or a competing power center, even a covert rival to Knossos. Excavations at Zakros have further perplexed archaeologists with extremely strange, anomalous artifacts. There are vases, ritual objects, weapons, and gold masks with styles and symbols that cannot be explained. Some linear A inscriptions here contain symbol combinations completely different from those of Knossos or Phaistos. Linguists believe that Zakros may have possessed a sub-language or its own codes serving to protect information or keep secret rituals hidden exclusively for high-level leaders. Many ritual objects even take the form of mythical creatures never before seen in the myths or legends of other parts of Crete, adding even more mystery to Zakros. However, what truly makes Zakros a challenging historical mystery is its sudden, unexpected end, with no clear explanation around 1450 years before the Common Era. All major Minoan palaces successively collapsed or were abandoned within a short period, but Zakros is especially peculiar for the vagueness of its signs of destruction, different from what is found at other centers. While Knossos, Phaistos, and Malea all show clear signs of fire destruction by natural disaster or even outside invasion, Zakros almost entirely lacks physical evidence of a major catastrophe. Many rooms still contain intact valuables, treasures, untouched everyday items, lying in place as if the owners had quietly left with no signs of hurried chaos or violence. This gentle departure has fueled a host of mysterious theories. There have been many different theories proposed to explain the mysterious disappearance of Zakros Palace, each one adding new layers to the enigma. Some scholars believe that Zakros was struck by a massive earthquake or a devastating tsunami triggered by the eruption of the Santorini Thera volcano, similar to what happened across much of Crete during the final phase of the Minoan civilization. However, geological research at Zakros has failed to uncover thick layers of ash or flood traces as found elsewhere. If a truly catastrophic natural disaster had struck this site, why did most of the treasures, manuscripts, and everyday items remain intact, showing no signs of disorder or looting? This has led many to believe that the inhabitants of Zakros managed to leave in time before disaster struck, possibly thanks to mysterious warnings or messages received through rituals, myths, or secret information networks known only to Zakros' elite. An even stranger theory suggests that Zakros was actually an experimental ground for a mysterious migration, or the starting point for a separate branch of the Minoan civilization, once they sensed the inevitable collapse approaching on Crete. If this were true, everything left at Zakros could have been just a shell, while the true core of Minoan knowledge, power, and secrets was transferred elsewhere, perhaps to the eastern Mediterranean islands, or even further away, carrying with them all the mysteries of rituals, religion, and technology accumulated over centuries. This also explains why artifacts, inscriptions, and treasures were left untouched at Zakros. They were no longer valuable to those who chose to depart, for what truly mattered was the knowledge and the people they took with them. Another modern perspective suggests that Zakros was once a secret base of power, competing with Knossos. When Knossos reached the height of its dominance and controlled the entire trading network, smaller centers like Zakros had to quietly withdraw, ending their historical role silently, without violence or conflict. This explains why there are no signs of invasion or struggle at Zakros, only evidence of an orderly abandonment. No one returned, and there was no competition over what was left behind. In addition, some spiritual and symbolic researchers believe that Zakros was a gateway to a mysterious religious elite, where supernatural rituals were performed under the patronage of secret societies. When the fate of Crete entered its period of decline, these societies chose to conclude their activities, hiding all traces and burying their secrets deep underground. The sudden disappearance of Zakros, its ceremonial chambers left unused, and its undeciphered inscriptions all act as a thick veil covering the truth, making Zakros forever a mystery that challenges all attempts at explanation by humankind. Regardless of how many theories have been proposed to this day, Zakros Palace remains a knot that cannot be untied in Minoan history. Its complete geographical isolation, secret trade networks, unique religious rituals, untouched treasures, and above all, a sudden end with no trace of conflict, war, or clear natural disaster all make Zakros a wall of darkness that archaeologists, historians, and those passionate about human mysteries are always eager to decipher. It is this very isolation that keeps Zakros alive in our imagination, reminding us that not all great legacies are found at the center, and that sometimes the greatest secrets are hidden in the most remote corners. More than 3,000 years later, Zakros Palace still stands silent, proud and defying every attempt at explanation, forever the isolated palace and an endless mystery for generations to come. Hidden among the mountains of Cajamarca in northern Peru, Kuntur Wasi is far more than just an archaeological site. It is a vault holding untold secrets of ancient gold and power. Nearly 3 millennia ago, while most of humanity still regarded gold as a mere precious metal, the inhabitants of Kuntur Wasi were already using it as a symbol of divine authority, power, and a conduit to supernatural forces. The dazzling gold tombs found here, buried within layers of ancient earth, have not only transformed our understanding of South American metallurgy, but also raised countless unanswered questions about the origins of technology, cultural exchanges, and the true meaning of gold in spiritual life. With its timeless treasures, Kuntur Wasi continues to quietly challenge modern archaeologists. Who was the first to elevate gold from the depths of the earth to the highest symbol of power? And how could they craft gold artifacts so exquisite that even today's world is left in awe? What do you think is the greatest mystery about the gold burials at Kuntur Wasi? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Archaeologists first excavated Kuntur Wasi in the 1970s, quickly realizing that this was far more than just a temple complex. They discovered grand stone temples, ceremonial plazas, and most importantly, a series of burials containing extraordinarily refined gold artifacts, including crowns, masks, bracelets, earrings, beads, ritual knives, and more. Many of these artifacts remain intact after thousands of years, buried in the cold Andes earth. As excavations progressed, scholars detected signs of a complex society. Only a select few, seemingly the elite, were buried with gold. Strikingly, some tombs of children were furnished with lavish treasures, raising profound questions. Who were they? What roles did they hold to be so highly honored at such a young age? The arrangement of gold items inside the tombs reveals careful ceremonial planning and intricate spiritual beliefs. Some objects were placed directly on the face or chest of the deceased, with rings encircling the head or hands, or golden masks covering the entire face, details believed to symbolize power, the deification of individuals, or spiritual protection from evil, according to ancient perceptions. Surprisingly, besides gold, archaeologists found offerings such as marine shells unavailable in the mountains, precious stones, and rare animal bones. These finds demonstrate not only extensive trade networks, but also the development of a religious magical ideology in which gold was more than material wealth. It was a spiritual essence linking humans with deities and ancestors. The metallurgical techniques at Kuntur Wasi truly represent an achievement far ahead of their time and remain at the heart of the site's greatest mysteries. Based on the results of modern material analyses, scientists have discovered that the gold artifacts at Kuntur Wasi are around 3,000 years old, emerging at a time when even major civilizations in Asia and Europe were only just developing basic metallurgy. This makes Kuntur Wasi one of the earliest cradles of goldworking in the world, not just in the Americas. The gold here was crafted using sophisticated methods such as hammering into thin sheets, repousse, micro-engraving, and precision-cutting techniques fully comparable to the renowned gold artifacts of ancient Egypt or Greece from the same era. Notably, some objects reveal highly advanced smelting and alloying skills, with gold blended with silver and copper to create unique colors, shine, and durability that would not be matched until much later civilizations. Some gold masks are so thin that light can pass through them, yet they remain flexible and completely unbroken. Achieving this required precise control of temperature alloy ratios and exceptional craftsmanship surpassing anything previously thought possible in ancient Andes. Many gold items were assembled from multiple small pieces, joined together by micro-welds so fine they can only be seen under a modern microscope. And these connections have not cracked even after thousands of years. Some artifacts also show traces of surface melting welding or hot gluing with lead-silver alloys technologies that would not appear in Europe until thousands of years later. Furthermore, isotope analysis shows that gold at Kuntur Wasi came not only from local sources, but also bears traces of distant gold mines, proving that a highly complex system of extraction management and transportation once existed here. Some alloy samples were blended with extremely precise amounts of silver and copper and occasionally even tin, enhancing color, increasing hardness, yet still preserving the material's intrinsic value. Remarkably, to this day, scientists have still not been able to fully replicate certain Kuntur Wasi gold alloys with the exact same physical and chemical properties as the ancient artifacts, even using the most advanced modern techniques. One of the greatest mysteries surrounding Kuntur Wasi is the question who taught or invented the advanced metallurgical techniques found here. To this day, researchers continue to debate this issue as the development of gold working at Kuntur Wasi seems to have emerged almost suddenly without the gradual evolution from primitive to sophisticated forms that is typical of technological progress elsewhere. There is no evidence that these techniques were imported from other regions, nor any sign of a preceding culture in surrounding areas from the same period. When compared with renowned cultures like Javan, also located in Peru, but appearing 500 to 700 years after Kuntur Wasi, the difference becomes stark. Gold only began to be produced on a large scale in the Chavin era, while prior cultures used mainly bronze, stone, or ceramics. Because of this, three major hypotheses have been put forward to explain the origins of Kuntur Wasi's metallurgical secrets. First, it is possible that Kuntur Wasi was an independent cradle that developed gold working on its own, but for some unknown reason, The knowledge was lost early, leaving a significant gap in South American history. Second, some believe that there may once have been a network of master metallurgists traveling throughout the Andes, quietly passing on their techniques to different communities, though clear evidence for this theory has yet to be found. Third, it has been suggested that Kuntur Wasi's metallurgy was the result of contact with far-flung civilizations, perhaps even beyond the Andes, through ancient gold routes that remain unexplored by modern archaeology. Notably, many researchers have pointed out that the use of diverse alloys, precise control of furnace temperatures, the presence of underground gold smelting furnaces within temple architecture, and the appearance of mythic symbols on artifacts from distant regions all suggest the existence of a vast network of knowledge exchange, or at the very least, a mysterious golden age of enlightenment in the Andes that has never been recorded in written history. There is no denying that Kuntur Wasi was truly the first spark that ignited the golden age of South America, as countless ritual symbols and metallurgical techniques of later great cultures, such as Chavin-Mochica and Inca, bear the deep imprint of this ancient site. Andean vulture motifs, golden masked designs, techniques for hammering gold into thin sheets, and even the concept of gold as a sacred spiritual essence all appear prominently in the art and belief systems of these civilizations, demonstrating the profound and widespread influence of the Kuntur Wasi legacy. Even the famous gold centers of Sipan, of the Moche, and the Sikan tombs inherited, developed, and transformed the metallurgical foundation that Kuntur Wasi had established so early on. Yet a major question still lingers regarding the true origins of this extraordinary metallurgical technology. How could a small, isolated highland community produce and craft gold with a level of sophistication that surpassed even much larger and wealthier civilizations? Is it possible that there once existed a hidden treasury of technology, metallurgical knowledge, and spiritual systems that flourished and then suddenly disappeared without a trace? Or does the entire story of Kuntur Wasi still hold secrets that history has yet to unravel? Even today, with X-ray alloy analysis, electron microscopy, and 3D reconstructions of ancient kilns, scientists still cannot fully explain how Kuntur Wasi achieved such precise temperature control, alloy blending, and fabrication of large, uniformly thin gold objects with only simple tools. Some experts even suggest that Kuntur Wasi may have possessed secret metallurgical formulas involving extremely rare local resources such as unique minerals, plants, or additives that have since become extinct or forgotten. Kuntur Wasi is not only a living museum of pre-Inca art and spirituality, but also raises profound questions about human history. How could an isolated ancient society possess such advanced goldworking technology? Who was the first to pass on these skills? What drove gold to become a symbol of power and the sacred? Perhaps, like so many other ancient South American mysteries, the answers will remain buried deep beneath the Andes, leaving to future generations a golden legend with no end. On the arid, boundless expanse of the Gobi Desert, where wind and sand relentlessly bury all traces of the past, lies one of Asia's greatest archaeological mysteries, Khami stone enclosures. These ancient structures not only astonish researchers with their scale and utter isolation amid wild nature, but also present a haunting, unanswered question. Who built these primitive stone walls, and how did they do it? Who do you think built these mysterious stone structures? And for what true purpose? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The stone enclosures of Khami are scattered across a vast area in eastern Xinjiang, China. Viewed from above, these structures appear as circles, ellipses, rectangles, or even winding boundary lines in the heart of a barren desert. Some enclosures reach diameters of 50, 70, or even 100 meters, unusually large compared to typical prehistoric settlements. They are often formed by stacked or upright stones ranging from half a meter to over 2 meters tall, creating continuous walls or small islands of stone amid a sea of sand. Strikingly, many areas show no traces of villages, fields, wells, or any other infrastructure typical of long-term habitation, raising further questions about the true purpose of these constructions. Although there is no absolute consensus on the dating, most research suggests that the Khami stone enclosures were built a very long time ago, possibly during the Neolithic period, or the early Bronze Age, which is at least 3,000 to 5,000 years ago. What remains around the enclosures, such as some pottery fragments, traces of fire, animal bones, and even artificially elongated human skulls, only faintly sketch the prehistoric communities that once inhabited the area. However, the stone structures themselves remain almost completely isolated from any material culture, leaving behind no identifiable symbols, scripts, or linguistic clues, causing all attempts to pinpoint their creators to end in frustration. The diversity of shape, size, and location means the purpose of the Khami stone enclosures remains highly controversial to this day. Some researchers, based on architectural features and rare burial finds, argue that these might have been ancient communal tombs, places to bury members of a community lineage or powerful group. However, other enclosures are oriented along east-west axes or align with the sunrise and sunset at solstices or special months, strongly suggesting a proto-astronomical function. Many other theories posit that the stone walls served as religious or sacrificial sites, territorial markers, or even symbolic fortifications. Yet the common thread is that all physical evidence is extremely scarce, never strong enough to confirm any hypothesis completely. At the heart of the Khami stone enclosures' mystery lies their primitive, yet deliberately constructed stone architecture. These sites are mainly built from locally sourced natural stones, such as sandstone rounded or flat pebbles, and sometimes large slabs that are rectangular or nearly circular. Many of these stones weigh several hundred kilograms and were set upright or stacked in a remarkably controlled manner. Numerous walls display a double-layered construction with 2 parallel rows of stone and smaller stones packed in between for long-term stability, demonstrating a structural mindset that is far from simple and even bears striking similarities to ancient stone monuments in Europe and the Eurasian steppe. This becomes even more perplexing when placed in the context of prehistory, a time without wheels, pulleys, draft animals, or modern metal tools. Yet people were still able to transport and erect hundreds of large stones in the harsh desert environment, sometimes even bringing them up to high mounds far from the original stone source. While there have been theories involving the use of wooden rollers, ropes made from desert plants, or even taking advantage of seasonal floods, there is no direct evidence of any tools or construction equipment, leaving a major gap in our archaeological understanding of their building techniques. Even more remarkable is that the entire system of stone walls was constructed without any mortar. The stones were fitted together with just enough precision to withstand thousands of years of wind and sand, with many sections anchored deep into the ground or directly connected to the natural bedrock below, showing a sophisticated grasp of gravity and structural durability. Beyond construction technique, the layout of some enclosures shows deliberate alignment along the east-west axis, or matches the direction of sunrise and sunset at specific times of the year, hinting at astronomical or ritual roles with narrow entrances resembling corridors leading to a sacred center. After thousands of years of storms, drifting sand, and relentless desert erosion, many of the Khami stone walls still stand, some only partially buried, rarely ever completely collapsed, demonstrating that their builders possessed not only extraordinary determination and physical strength, but also technical knowledge and spatial thinking far beyond what we typically imagine for prehistoric desert communities. During limited excavations, archaeologists have uncovered some unusual artifacts around the enclosures, notably artificially elongated human skulls, signs of religious ritual, social hierarchy, or expressions of power. In addition, rare animal bones, some from species that no longer exist in the desert today, hint at a once dramatically different climate. These traces are not strong enough to solve the mystery, but they open up a much broader vision of a vanished past. No script symbol emblem or characteristic artifact has ever been found to identify the true creators of Khami's stone enclosures. Some bold theories suggest these are relics of prehistoric communities that once traveled the ancient Silk Road or were branches of now lost steppe desert civilizations. However, the site's isolation, great scale, and consistency of design poke holes in every hypothesis. Perhaps these are the legacy of a singular culture with a unique social structure, construction skills, and cosmic perspective far beyond what mainstream history has ever recorded. Despite the site's significance, most Khami stone enclosures have not been systematically researched, excavated, or preserved. Difficult terrain, harsh climate, and limited resources have slowed scientific progress. Some enclosures are deeply buried by sand and even damaged by modern mining and construction. This only makes it harder to test hypotheses about their function-age construction techniques or connections to megalithic sites in Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. Each Khami stone wall is a challenge to scientists, explorers, and anyone fascinated by ancient mysteries. They not only raise questions about the organizational capacity of prehistoric societies, but also force us to rethink technical progress and science in human history. Are these primitive stone architectures the legacy of a once great civilization that disappeared without a trace? Or are they evidence of cultural exchange and technological transfer between East and West far earlier than commonly believed? Whether their purpose was as tombs, observatories, or ritual sites, the Khami stone enclosures remain an unsolved archaeological mystery. Their primitive stone construction without mortar, without modern tools, and without any sign of ruling power has made them an enduring symbol, standing resilient against time and oblivion. Each silent stone wall is a reminder of an era when humanity conquered nature with willpower and intellect. The Khami stone architecture stands as proof of human creativity and the eternal desire to leave an immortal mark on the desert, a mystery that still challenges every perspective on the past. Deep within the ancient Amazon rainforest, where the canopy casts its shadow and time itself seems to stand still, there exists a site where every carved line and painted mark serves as a silent message from a distant past. This is Pedra Pintada, the painted rock of Brazil. Not grand or towering like pyramids or majestic stone cities, Pedra Pintada draws archaeologists with a far deeper mystery. Hundreds of strange symbols and figures appear on its rocky walls, forming a kind of visual language that to this day humanity has yet to decipher. Here, not only are the traces of some of the earliest human settlers in the Amazon preserved, but also stories, beliefs, and knowledge never before revealed, all contained within these silent characters, etched deep into the ancient stone. What do you think the mysterious symbols on Pedra Pintada's rocks are really trying to tell us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Pedra Pintada, literally meaning the painted rock, is in fact a vast cave system hidden beneath ancient cliffs surrounded by the Emerald Sea of the Amazon. This place is entirely isolated, accessible only by journeys that cross streams and forests, making every archaeological expedition feel like a pilgrimage back to the origins of humanity. What makes Pedra Pintada truly special isn't just its wild beauty or its immense historical age, but rather the astonishing treasure trove of ancient rock art paintings, symbols, and mysterious patterns stretched across the cave walls. According to scientists, these artworks may have existed from 11,000 to 13,000 years ago, meaning they emerged when human civilization had not yet appeared in Europe, when Egypt was still a desolate desert, and the Amazon had only just entered the human age. Before Pedra Pintada was excavated, many scholars believed the Amazon was an uninhabited land, only settled when technology and agriculture had advanced. But everything changed when the first surveys here revealed countless artifacts: stone tools, ancient pottery shards, animal bones, seashells, hearth ashes. All these show a community lived, worked, and created here tens of thousands of years ago. Even more important, the cave paintings rendered in red, yellow, and brown from natural minerals were not merely decorations. They represent the earliest signs of abstract thinking, social awareness, and visual communication of prehistoric Amazonian humans. These artworks shattered the theory of a late migration wave of modern humans into South America and raised a profound question: who were the first artists of the Amazon? Where did they come from? And what were they truly trying to express through their visual language? If you've ever seen the cave art of Lascaux, France, Altamira, Spain, or caves in Africa, you'll recognize some familiar patterns: humans and animals painted in a realistic style, bold brushstrokes often centered around hunting or ritual themes. But Pedra Pintada is entirely different here. The system of images and symbols is both incredibly diverse and nearly impossible to decode by any known reference system. On those ancient stone walls, the ancients left hundreds of images: stylized, human forms, stick figures, strange animals, snakes, fish, birds, four-legged beasts, and a wide array of geometric symbols: interlocked circles, dots, zigzag lines, spirals, net-like sequences, and motifs with unknown origins. Notably, many symbols seem to repeat with intention, as if they represent a form of graphic language or some ancient record-keeping system. This is precisely what fascinates and simultaneously obsesses archaeological researchers who study Pedra Pintada. Its visual language is incredibly difficult to decipher. Unlike other civilizations, whose scripts such as Egyptian hieroglyphs, Sumerian cuneiform, or Maya glyphs have gradually been decoded, the symbols at Pedra Pintada remain silent. They do not correspond to any known alphabet or ancient symbolic system, and there is no Rosetta Stone to provide a key. The visual language at Pedra Pintada is particularly perplexing for many reasons. Most of the symbols do not directly represent the natural world. Rarely do we see animals depicted realistically. Instead, there are geometric shapes, abstract patterns, and layered meanings intertwined. The paintings lack supporting context, unlike sandrock art in Africa or European cave paintings, which are often associated with hunting activities or rituals. The images at Pedra Pintada stand alone, unconnected, and do not follow any easily recognizable narrative motifs. There has never been a discovered key legend or local myth in the area to help decode the meanings behind these figures. It is likely that due to the oral tradition being lost through many generations, combined with population shifts and harsh environmental changes, this language has become extinct, with no one left who understands or passes it on. Some researchers even hypothesize that these symbols may represent a kind of code used to communicate between groups or serve in highly private rituals inaccessible to outsiders. Notable and controversial symbols include interlocking spirals believed to symbolize the cycle of life, natural rhythms, or altered states of consciousness in shamanic rituals, concentric circles that could represent the sun, the structure of the cosmos, topographic maps, rivers, or agricultural calendars, distorted human figures with twisted postures, disproportionate limbs, sometimes merging with animals reminiscent of myths about shape-shifting humans, or transformation states in trance rituals, net-like motifs, and zigzag lines that might relate to beliefs about waterfish mathematics or record-keeping, yet to this day, no one can say for certain. Each hypothesis leads to endless debate. Did the ancients simply draw on inspiration, or are all these symbols, in fact, a lost prehistoric language, a unique system of signs created by the people of the Amazon? Precisely because of this complexity, every expert approaching Pedra Pintada puts forward very different hypotheses. Some believe that each painting is a mythical story, depicting the journey of the soul, or ancient shamanic rituals, with the symbols acting as gateways connecting reality and the spiritual world, the living and the dead. Other scholars argue that Pedra Pintada is the Amazon's very first history book, recording major events such as floods, natural disasters, migrations, or wars between prehistoric tribes. Some researchers see the symbols as a kind of agricultural notation maps of rivers or lunar and solar calendars to assist with hunting and gathering. Meanwhile, a number of modern opinions suggest that perhaps the ancients painted simply to satisfy aesthetic needs, for entertainment, or to express their creative identity without any specific meaning at all. However, no matter how many theories exist to this day, the visual language of Pedra Pintada remains a giant coded wall in human history, where all efforts at deciphering it have so far stopped at mere speculation. Pedra Pintada is not just an archaeological site. It is a reminder of the complexity, diversity, and creativity of early humanity. Even without written language, even as their visual language has been buried, the prehistoric artists of the Amazon created a trove of symbols that still stun the modern world. Many researchers see Pedra Pintada as living proof that the Amazon was once a cultural center, not at all backward or uninhabited as previously believed. The existence of this rock art raises deep questions about the possibility of parallel civilizations, lost cultures that once flourished in the jungle, but whose traces have been erased by time and nature. To this day, while archaeological teams continue their relentless work, every stroke, every symbol on Pedra Pintada's walls remains a wordless code, inviting humanity to decipher and reflect on our past. Pedra Pintada is not just an archaeological site, but also a testament to humanity's desire to leave its mark over thousands of years, even if only through silent symbols. The true meaning of these signs may forever remain a mystery. Yet it is precisely this that makes Pedra Pintada endlessly fascinating and inspiring to those who yearn to explore, imagine, and understand themselves. Buried beneath layers of earth for millennia, the Sayburq relief suddenly emerges like an ancient whisper sent to future generations. Amid the ancient deserts of Anatolia, it is not just evidence of a vanished civilization, but also a declaration of the creative power and unfathomable mysteries of our ancestors. Here, Stone Age people left behind a vivid visual story on rock walls, without words, without script, only an endless procession of human and animal forms in silence, challenging all our assumptions about the limits of their era's technology. More than just a work of art, Sayburq stands as proof of the extraordinary intelligence and material mastery of early humans, with every carved line, every sculpted form, carrying within it a fragment of humanity's ancient legend. What do you think is the true meaning behind the Sayburq relief? Did our ancestors possess technological secrets that we still can't unravel today? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The Sayburq narrative, relief over 2 meters long, is carved directly onto the wall of a circular stone structure. This structure itself is a mystery, reflecting an advanced level of spatial planning and construction for its time. The relief's composition includes several figures, 2 prominent adults standing powerfully in the center, surrounded by animals like leopards, wild cattle, and wolves or foxes, all seemingly participating in an endless ritual or mythological tale. Interestingly, there is no accompanying script. All meaning is conveyed through imagery, forcing modern viewers into a labyrinth of decoding imagination and debate. What astonished archaeologists most about Cyberk is the incredible sculptural technique demonstrated by prehistoric artisans. According to dating analysis, this relief was created around 11,000 years ago during the Neolithic period, when humanity had only just begun transitioning from a hunter-gatherer lifestyle to the earliest agricultural communities. At that time, iron and steel were completely unknown. People mainly used ground stone, wood bone, and perhaps a small amount of raw native copper in its most primitive form. Yet Cyberk features extremely deep and decisive carving lines, with each human and animal figure standing out from the stone background as the result of a process of grinding, chiseling, and shaping every centimeter of hard stone, forming raised blocks that protrude 2 to 4 centimeters above the wall's surface. This was not simply scratching at stone, it demanded real skill to create depth angles and shifting effects of light and shadow, all relying on the thickness and angle of the carved surfaces. The human forms on the relief are carved with lively, realistic proportions, clearly depicting anatomical details from the shape of the arms' muscles, facial expressions, and genitals to small features like clothing or objects held in hand. The animals are brought to life through each powerful yet subtle stroke, with shaggy fur claws, eyes, and teeth all rendered meticulously. Beyond the skill of shaping individual figures, the Cyberk relief also demonstrates a masterful grasp of overall composition. The figures are arranged along a horizontal axis, coordinating gestures and positions to create a visually seamless sequence of events, much like a long story strip running along the stone wall. Notably, the artisan skillfully combined both high relief and incised carving with some details like outlines, decorative motifs, or small animals executed in incised technique, adding striking contrast and depth to the overall composition. The extraordinary sculptural techniques at Cyberk have posed a series of perplexing questions for modern archaeologists. With the extremely limited resources, tools, and knowledge available to Neolithic people, how could they have created a work so monumental in scale, yet so intricate and precise in every detail? No traces of bronze, iron, or complex lifting machinery have been found at the site, making the crafting process more mysterious than ever. Some common theories suggest that artisans of the time carefully selected especially hard stones like volcanic rock or flint to make chisels and hammers, then painstakingly ground away at limestone or sandstone surfaces, sometimes carving only a few millimeters each day, a process that could have taken months or even years, demanding immense patience, skill, and exceptional craftsmanship. Some scholars also believe that ancient people may have used a technique where they heated the surface of the stone and then doused it with cold water to create small cracks, after which they would gradually split off larger pieces using stone chisels before finishing the finer details with smaller tools. Beyond sculpting abilities, these artisans also needed to measure and proportion figures with great accuracy, either by eye or by using strings and rods as positioning tools to arrange every character within the limited space while ensuring overall harmony. Notably, many researchers predict that it must have taken numerous generations of artisans, each contributing to a small detail to perfect and pass down these remarkable skills, thereby forming an entire mysterious artistic and technical tradition that endured for centuries. What Cyberk has left behind has forced modern scholars to completely reconsider the capabilities of prehistoric humans. Clearly, our ancestors were not simply hunters and gatherers with simplistic minds. They had developed powerful abstract thinking, as shown by their creation of mythological symbols, ritual actions, and their purposeful combination of human and animal forms, each containing deep meanings about fertility, power, the cycles of life and death, and generational transition. Moreover, the presence of a clear division of labor is evidence of an organized and disciplined society that valued collective art, since the process of making such reliefs required teams of artisans, stone transporters, builders, guardians, and ritual specialists. Especially remarkable is the community's ability to transmit and preserve knowledge collectively, as seen in the repetition and evolution of artistic motifs over many generations, proof that they created a unique visual language that conveyed values, beliefs, and communal memory from one generation to the next, taking the place of written language in a society where writing had yet to be invented. Compared to Göbekli Tepe or Karahan Tepe, Sayburk demonstrates a more coherent and sequential storytelling in imagery, not just isolated pillars or figurative statues, but a continuous narrative mural. The arrangement of characters and integration of small details into a larger story reflects thinking about time, causality, and complexity even more sophisticated than the famous cave paintings at Lascaux, France, or Altamira, Spain. Although the extraordinary sculptural techniques of Sayburk have amazed the world, countless unresolved mysteries still surround this relief. What was the true message that ancient artisans sought to convey? Was it an initiation ritual, a fertility ceremony, a creation myth, or perhaps a record of some real historical event now lost to time? The identity of the creators is another great question. Was it the work of a single genius, a carefully selected group of artisans from the community, or the achievement of many generations working together? No one knows whether there are other narrative reliefs like this still buried beneath the soil of Anatolia, or if Sayburk is the only surviving example. And finally, did ancient people possess secret skills or special technologies that modern humanity has completely lost? These questions continue to fascinate and drive researchers to keep searching and deciphering. In every aspect, the Sayburk narrative relief is proof of the creative power, storytelling drive, and material craftsmanship of humanity from the very dawn of history. It reminds us that art and technique are not the exclusive products of great civilizations with advanced writing, but flourish strongly even in an era when all tools were merely stone wood and imagination. Every carved line, every human or animal figure on the relief is a message about the immortal power of culture memory and collective intelligence, qualities that can sometimes be even greater than all the material achievements of modern humanity. If one had to choose a representative ancient site to speak about the intersection of primitive belief, astonishing craftsmanship, and unsolved mysteries in the East, then the Hongshan Goddess Temple would surely top the list. Hidden among the hills of what is now Liaoning and Inner Mongolia, this temple was not only the largest religious center of the Hongshan civilization 5,000 years ago, but also a treasury holding secrets about the origins of Chinese civilization, the role of the goddess in prehistoric spirituality, and above all the birthplace of jade artifacts so enigmatic they astound the archaeological world. It is only when you set foot in this barren land, standing among the ruins of a temple that once was the religious heart of ancient East Asia, that you truly feel the sacred, mysterious aura that pervades this place. The Hongshan Goddess Temple was once a gathering place for thousands, the focal point of the grandest ceremonies, where kings, shamans, and the populace entrusted their faith to supernatural powers. But even more than that, buried deep beneath the earth here are troves of jade, peculiarly shaped with elusive functions, far beyond the imagination of any contemporary civilization in the world. What do you think about the true origin and meaning of the mysterious jade artifacts at the Hongshan Goddess Temple? Do you believe people at that time possessed techniques beyond what we imagine today? Share your thoughts or theories in the comments below. Thousands of years ago, the people of Hongshan had already established a faith centered on goddess worship, the great mother archetype, representing fertility, prosperity, and the power to protect the community. Archaeologists have unearthed large terracotta goddess statues here, with delicate, majestic features and eyes wide open as if gazing into eternity. The largest statue, nearly 1 meter tall, depicts a mature woman, her belly slightly rounded, a symbol of fertility and life. The carvings on the face, eyebrows, lips, chin, and especially the expression, have left experts in awe. This is not merely an artwork, but the very soul of a civilization. Alongside the goddess statue are numerous smaller figures, fetal forms, and fertility symbols, reinforcing the theory of a society that revered maternal power, or at the very least, considered the mother the spiritual and social center of the universe. The temple was built atop a high hill from afar, resembling a cosmic axis connecting heaven and earth. The complex included many small rooms, underground chambers, altars, stone circles, pathways to the summit, and secret burial areas. Each chamber preserves ritual traces, ashes, animal bones, broken pottery, and even bloodstains. All these evoke ceremonies lasting many days where people tried to communicate with the gods through sacrifices, prayers for harvest healing, and communal well-being. It is within this very space that the most mysterious jade artifacts were created, preserved, and hidden objects that became the emblem of the entire Hongshan culture. If in ancient Egypt people prided themselves on mummies, and in Mesopotamia on clay tablets recording epic poems, then the Hongshan civilization possessed an unrivaled treasure. Jade artifacts, works that blend sublime artistry, masterful craftsmanship, and a deeply complex spiritual meaning unseen in any other prehistoric culture. The first astonishment is that the Hongshan people used jadeite and nephrite materials that are incredibly hard, even more difficult to work than modern steel. 5,000 years ago, when metal tools were rudimentary, how did they manage to cut, polish, drill, carve, and engrave these dense, lustrous stones with such intricate detail? This remains a major question. Modern experts must use magnifying glasses and electron microscopes to study the cuts, finding lines that are extremely regular, edges that are razor-sharp, with no sign of primitive tool marks. Some theories suggest the Hongshan people used quartz, sandcopper wire, water, and a method of repetitive grinding over many years to create the desired forms. However, the speed of production, the vast quantity of jade artifacts, and the consistency of technique make this theory less than convincing. Among the thousands of artifacts discovered at the Hongshan Goddess Temple and surrounding areas, the Hongshan jade relics stand out for their diversity of shapes and symbolism, which can be divided into 4 main groups, each holding profound mysteries regarding its function and meaning. Most prominent are the jade dragon's curved jade bands in a circular or C shape, with the head shaped like a dragon, featuring a pointed snout, protruding tongue, long eyebrows, and upright horns. The dragon heads are often stylized, sometimes with large eyes and a mysterious smile, creating an unmistakable aura of mystique. Jade dragons not only represent supernatural power, but are also considered intermediaries between humans and the divine. Many scholars believe these are the earliest prototypes of dragon worship in Chinese culture, the ancient origin of later dragon legends. In addition, curved discs, B, and mask rings are indispensable parts of the Hongshan jade collection. These round jade discs, perforated in the center with smooth surfaces, are sometimes engraved with wave patterns, rays of light, or strange faces. They may symbolize the sun, represent transitions between worlds, or be used in rituals honoring heaven and earth. Some jade masks with large round eyes, slightly closed mouths, and half-human, half-animal forms evoke images of supernatural beings, guardian spirits, or incarnations of the goddess herself. Beyond that, many jade artifacts are crafted into fish shapes, symbols of fertility and abundance, bird shapes representing the ability to connect heaven and earth, or even human figures in unusual postures with large heads, small bodies, and outstretched arms, along with the appearance of mythical creatures such as 3-legged birds, cat-faced beasts, and 2-headed dragons, making Hongshan jade all the more mysterious. In addition to large items, the Hongshan people also placed great importance on crafting small jewelry and amulets such as jade bracelets and earrings, which were often buried with the dead or placed in sacred locations to protect the soul and maintain the enduring connection between humans and the divine. Looking at each artifact, one cannot help but wonder about their true meaning function and the extraordinary beliefs that ancient people infused into every detail of the Hongshan jade relics. Hongshan jade artifacts were not merely decorative or symbols of power. They played a central role in sacrificial ceremonies, prayers for harvest and health, and especially the soul exchange ritual. Many jade pieces were buried deep beneath the temple floor, arranged in circles or question-mark shapes as if to seal, protect, or transmit the prayers of the community to supernatural forces. In the underground chambers of the goddess temple, many skeletons have been found, with jade artifacts placed on their chests, foreheads, hands, or in their mouths as if to guide the soul to the afterlife. Some jades show distinctive wear, indicating they were used repeatedly in ceremonies, perhaps as objects inheriting power for shamans, elders, or Hongshan rulers. Local folklore claims that Hongshan jade can ward off evil spirits, heal disease, and even connect heaven and earth at special times like full moons, eclipses, or during major sacrificial festivals. The greatest mystery of Hongshan jade is not just its advanced technology, but its quantity, diversity, and true meaning. How could a prehistoric community organize mass production of such exquisite jade items without clear traces of workshops or forges? Who decided the shapes, symbols, and functions of each type of jade? Does each form contain a spiritual code, a message for the supernatural, or are there even deeper layers relating to power, gender status, and social order that remain unexplored? Many researchers believe that Hongshan jade laid the symbolic foundations for the religious systems of later Chinese dynasties, from imperial heaven worship, the dragon phoenix motifs of royal regalia, to the custom of burying the dead with jade amulets for protection. Alongside the jade relics, the goddess temple remains covered by countless mysteries yet to be unraveled. The true function of the entire temple complex. Was it a religious center, a trading post, a soul transfer station, or a cosmic axis for astronomical observation? Why were the most important jade artifacts buried in geometric patterns closely tied to the movement of the sun and moon? What was the real role of jade-related rituals? Were they merely offerings to the goddess, or did they serve as magical acts, invoking supernatural power? What caused such a brilliant civilization as Hongshan to disappear so suddenly, leaving their jade treasures buried in silence for millennia, awaiting discovery? Today, many scholars agree that the Hongshan goddess temple and its mysterious jades are the deep root of the Nuwa creates humans myth, the birthplace of the Great Mother concept, and the origin of yin-yang cosmology in Eastern thought. The forms of jade dragons, god masks, and more left a profound mark on art, religion, and even the political power of ancient China. Looking back over more than 5,000 years, those jades still retain their dazzling, mysterious beauty, a reminder of the secrets of the past, the extraordinary abilities of prehistoric people, and the wonder of spirituality, art, and intellect throughout human history. The Hongshan Goddess Temple is not just an ordinary archaeological site, but a civilizational code, a place that carries the hopes, fears, and cosmic longing of the ancients. The Hongshan Jades, with their dragons, masks, mythical creatures, and fertility symbols, are the clearest material imprint of a civilization that was both romantic and enigmatic, forever challenging the limits of modern knowledge. The Hongshan Goddess Temple and its treasury of mysterious jades will always remain an unanswered question on the journey to understanding humanity's origins.